Yeah.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you, thank you. I would like to now call our regular council meeting of Monday, May 25th to order, please. I would like to begin by acknowledging that this meeting in the District of Sooke is being held on the traditional lands of the Sooke Nation. Council, I would like to look for approval of today's agenda, item 3.1, that the agenda for May 25th, 2026 regular meeting to be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Beddoes and seconded by Bateman. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Item 4.1 is adoption of meeting minutes. And that would be that the following council meeting minutes be adopted as presented: our May 11th, 2026 regular and our May 19th, 2026 committee of the whole. It's moved by Councillor Bateman and seconded by Beddoes. Any questions or corrections? Okay, all those in favor of adoption and none opposed, that's unanimous. Thank you. Next up is our report of the Chief Administrative Officer. I'll look to Ms. Gray to see if there's anything outside of what's on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Your Worship. The only thing I wanted to add is just timely with property tax notices being distributed this week. Is next up in our annual budget cycle will be community engagement. So there'll be lots of opportunities over the summer at various pop-ups and markets, and we encourage residents to attend those, participate as much as you feel comfortable with, and or correspond with the district to make your voices heard so we can let the new council know what the priorities of the community are. And I'll just leave it at that for now.
Okay, thank you very much. That moves us into item 6, which is our public question and comment period. This section is reserved for members of the community that wish to address council. There will be 2 minutes per speaker allocated. So if you could please come forward, introduce yourself. We just require your name, And if you could please let us know which item in particular you're speaking to. It's particular to tonight's agenda. Thank you. On the base of the microphone, actually. And when you start speaking, our staff will start the timer for you. Thank you.
Hi, Donnie Eve from Sooke. I appear today as president of Sooke Region Historical Society to speak to item 8.1, Throup Road, Phillips Road Connection Project. We were surprised to see Sooke Region Museum land mentioned as part of the expansion plan. The staff report under legal impact states for CP6, the land will be derived from private landowners, CRDC Park, and the Sooke Region Museum.
Sorry, Miss Eve, can you hold for a moment? Okay, sorry, go ahead, please.
Okay. In discussion with staff last year, we shared concerns about Phillips Road construction. The area used for parking and accessible parking along Phillips Road in front of the museum is actually on District of Sooke Road right-of-way. So plans to widen this road will have a significant impact. It will affect our ability to deliver school and other public programs and events. And as the region's official visitor center, parking is crucial to maintain access, especially considering mobility and accessibility needs for seniors and visitors. We know parking for both Sea Park and the museum is difficult to find even now, especially when events are at either location. We've heard from construction professionals that widening the road into this area will likely kill the mature trees that border the museum grounds. The loss of otherwise healthy mature trees will affect the absorption of greenhouse gas emissions, destroy wildlife habitat, and impact the area's appeal. And this is just if construction extends into the existing right-of-way. The staff report infers their plans to go even further to widen the road beyond District of Sooke right-of-way, taking land away from the museum property. We seek clarification on what's meant by land will be derived from the Sooke Region Museum. The museum is a cherished public institution. It's an important activity, information historical center for residents and visitors alike, and a critical community hub and focal point gateway to services, amenities, and attractions for the entire region. The museum serves 40,000 residents and visitors all year long, and maintaining access to these services is crucial. Thanks so much for all your efforts, staff and council, to improve traffic in our community. And once again, we ask to be notified and included in any discussions that will impact the museum. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Sorry, sir, can you please turn on the microphone? There we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. My name is Bruce Berry, so appearing on a personal, and it is regard to, in fact, item 8.1. And it is to address the impact of what you're looking at on reconciliation. I know it seems, what does it have to do with reconciliation? In fact, it has quite a lot. And it's not just a local issue, it's a national and pan-Aboriginal issue, especially around the issue of the museum. 2 months ago, I became a member of the board of the museum, but I'd given thought to this with other folks to present to you. I'm not a member of the local First Nation. I'm a member of the Sandy Bay Ojibwe First Nation in Manitoba. I've lived here for 3 years, and I'm not going back where it's 35 below 4 months out of the year. Municipal infrastructure decisions are never purely technical. In fact, their culture and political road alignment, traffic planning, and civil engineering shape really whose stories are visible. And the history of Indigenous people and their stories not being visible is well known. Sooke is very conscious and does a great job, but I just want to emphasize consideration of this. In a past life, I was director of the Indigenous Law Program at the University of Alberta. So I'm familiar with the impact of these decisions across Canada. And I'll just leave my written submission with you. The Sooke Museum has a key part as a truth teller and the holder of stories. And they're very much involved with the local First Nation in articulating and collecting the history of this area and these people. And I note that you're doing public consultation, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. If you do have a written submission, you may provide it to Mr. Lois at the end there. He can distribute to council. Thank you. Other speakers this evening?
Push the button? Okay. My name is Patricia Whiteley. I'm a senior, as you can guess, and I've been hearing for 15 years that we need a senior center. I haven't seen anything except rented space, and it's not very good for us anyway. But the closer now than we have ever been, we have nowhere near anywhere. We go, we come, everybody stops. I want them to stop and get together because this will benefit everybody here. Not just me, but everybody here will eventually need it. And wouldn't it be nice to have your names on it? That would be nice. And that's my sentence. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Other speakers this evening? May I ask that any applause be withheld just so we can create a neutral space? Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, councillors. I'd like to speak to item 12.1. I need to clarify. The gathering place is not intended just for seniors. Yes, there's a focus on healthy aging, but youth and intergenerational programs and activities have always been part of the vision and all the discussions over the years. The first part of the motion you're considering in 12.1 asks staff to negotiate with Catalyst. It's unclear whether negotiation is about securing space, or about the cost of space. Getting a yes from Catalyst will not be helpful in the gathering place if the gathering place is required to pay market rates for space. Can the motion be clarified to consider the cost of space in discussion with Catalyst? For the second part of the motion, if negotiation is not successful, the community is left without the opportunity for a plebiscite. So we're back to zero. That's a slap in the face, quite frankly, for all the thousands of hours and thousands of dollars that have been invested in this project to date. Yes, costs are a concern for everyone, but it's imperative that we get answers to access to Lot A. With that, we have leverage to engage funders, builders, developers, donors to support this project. We all agree that's the way that costs can be brought down considerably. And with that kind of community support, we won't need to put $5 billion to the community taxpayers. Please consider any idea of canceling the plebiscite at this time as a no. Without this community process, we wouldn't have a pool today. We wouldn't have a golf course today. We wouldn't have sewers today. I am encouraged to know that every person on this council is in favor of making Gathering Place a reality, and sooner rather than later. So I thank you. So can these two ideas now move forward concurrently and in parallel, at least until the staff reports come forward and we have a better understanding of the costs and the negotiations and more information about both options? I thank you.
Thank you. Other speakers this evening?
Ellen Lures. I also would like to speak to 12.1. Let's just speak to taxes, period. I've heard nothing but grief from a lot of people with the taxes. People coming in near in tears wondering how they're going to pay their taxes. So another 5 million is not acceptable, or the 50 million for a road. But there are other alternatives. We have talked with the seniors about it before. We have all those modular units, which I believe all the councillors know about, on Butler's property, and the prices dropped drastically. And there's 33 units that are 720 square foot each. There's a full kitchen in there worth probably $2 million. The prices dropped so drastically that we could put it on Lot A easily, because it'll cover a quarter of an acre and still have lots of space. And it would cover a lot of people. It would cover seniors, youth. I've made a list here. Different events, the orchestra, arts, food bank, band, choir, food sheet. It would just be such a wonderful space space for the whole community. We know that the Sooke Community Hall is maxed out. You cannot get a place there. But if we had this unit on Lot A, it would be a new community center and for a price that we could afford, and it would serve all the community. I don't think we need to have more housing for seniors, but if a gathering place or what, a gathering place for everybody, because we just are lacking space. So, and rental space would be there, people could, storage, the bands could store their equipment there or orchestras, but we don't have that. So I think this is a great opportunity that we should be looking at, and I think we need to look at alternatives. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other speakers this evening? And you'll just need to turn the microphone on when you're ready. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Dorothy Anderson, and it's been weighing on my mind the last while with all these fires and everything. It's happening more often and everything else. I'm concerned about the people in Sun River, as there's should be an alternate route for them to get out of there if there should be a fire happen, possibly to the other, to the south part of Sooke Road, going out towards Shirley or whatever. Because if there's a fire there and it happens below, these people are not going to get out of there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Veronica Pemberton-Villing. I live in Sooke. I'm also going to speak to item 12.1. I want to thank Mrs. Lewis for coming up with an alternative and a creative alternative, because I know I say this all the time, but the tax bills arrived and they're shocking when they arrive. And I know council is doing the very best and staff to make everything work. So I understand the pressures, but I do not think we can put more on the tax. I just don't think. People are struggling as it is. As I've said, 1 million Canadian families will have their mortgages renewed in the next this year or next year, and most of them won't be able to make that. And as I see the tax bill, I look at what I need to do as a senior. I now, question whether I can visit my grandchild in Montreal. That's going to need to change. People are making real decisions on this, on what's coming down. And from everything I've seen and heard, it's going to get worse. My house is worth less than I paid for it, and many people will find themselves in negative equity when they need to renew. So I will say that I'm supporting Councillor Haldane's motion to not do the plebiscite, to cancel the plebiscite, and thank you to Mrs. Lewis for coming up with an alternative. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
It's on. Rob Pierce, Sooke resident, soon to be senior. I've been out here for 15, 20 years. And that's all I've ever heard is the senior center. I think Councilman Haldane's on it. He's got a good idea here to talk to somebody that's willing to build a building. Right. I believe you wanted to talk about a tax swap or a shift or something. Even if there was a plebiscite or a referendum, whatever you want to call it, we still got to win it. Then you got to find the land. I don't know if there's land, like Lot A seems to be talked about a lot. Are there plans? We can't afford it. We really can't afford it. When I pay, my tax bill comes in and it's over $4,000, and I look and see what I get from my taxes. Quite frankly, it's disgusting, really disgusting. So to even think about adding 5 more or 50 more to put in bike lanes that the majority of the time don't get used is ridiculous. So my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. Other speakers this evening?
Is this on? Okay. Hi. So I'm Sherry Robb. I am the president of the Sooke Arts Council, and I'm a director on the Sooke Region Chamber of Commerce. I've been on the Sooke Gathering Place fundraising committee for the last 4 years. And in that time, Our small group of volunteers has ignited a vision and inspired our entire community to rally behind this initiative. And so far, our community has come together. We've held regular themed costume dances and theatrical events. We've hosted 3 spectacular seniors contests. We've brought the National Grand Parade to Sooke. Now we're entering our 3rd year raising funds for seniors. We've partnered with other service organizations to host a senior fair. We'll have another one this June. We've collected and sold literally tons of books. We've organized plein air art events and art sales. We've sold trees and raffled handmade quilts. We've baked thousands of dollars worth of holiday treats, and that's a lot of cookies. We've encouraged businesses to challenge one another to raise funds and donate prizes. We've received incredible support from the Rotary Club, which raised over $16,000. We've witnessed complete strangers, people we don't even know, hold yard sales, clothing swaps, knitting sales, and bottle drives to support this building. We've raised almost $300,000 just by doing this. The point is, our community has worked incredibly hard to demonstrate support for the Sioux Gathering Place. People have donated time, money, energy, creativity, and heart because they believe this project matters. They have earned a say.
Thank
So-
you. We're at time.
Okay. Thank you.
You may please refrain from clapping. Again, there's different viewpoints that we'd like to hear from. Thank you. Next speaker, thank you.
Nick Dickinson Wild and William. So I'm here to speak about item 8.1. The connector honestly should have been built 15 years ago. It can't be changed, but it should have been. Regardless of any of the options, I do not believe that 20% tax increase is all a starter. If that goes on the ballot, it's basically deciding that you do not want it to be passed. That said, I encourage a complete but one-sided build out of the route. So currently the options provided in the appendices include various options, but they all have some degree of sidewalk on both sides. When Wadhams was built out, it was one side. It didn't have a sidewalk and a bike lane. It had a multi-use pathway. This route could also have a multi-use pathway. Currently, the route is basically going to be going on a bike route. So I strongly do say we need to have a bike and pedestrian accessible pathway, but can be one-sided. Additionally, given that the multiple schools are accessed from Helgeson, I believe that C4 and C5 have to be done at the same time, or at least sequentially. And given traffic on Phillips that will inevitably increase, I think all 3 do have to be sequential, but that 20% option is a non-starter. So make the initiative on the ballot based on one of the lower options and try and reduce the costs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other speakers tonight?
Hi, Noah Dowie, Sooke. I get this is also regarding 8.1 Throup Phillips Road Connection Project. I agree with Nick. One-sided is all that's needed along this whole thing for now. I'd also like to suggest reducing the width to 20 meters throughout. A center median or lane is not necessary, at least in sections CB4 or CB5, in my opinion. Furthermore, with regards to options for the referendum question, I'll note that $50 million price tag being talked about, it's not just the section between Phillips and the skate park. It's Sooke Road to Sea Park and then all the way up to Church. I think many would be far more supportive and would have a much better chance of going forward if the scope of the referendum was limited to funding CB5 on its own with the other sections to be upgraded at a later time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, Council, citizens, staff, Dave Saunders. I'll be speaking to 7.4, 8.1, and 8.3. 7.4, the emergency management strategy here. Many people for years now have been talking about Highway 14, so that's not new. And so I really don't see that we needed a high-paced consultant to do this work when we have hired new staff and we have a great fire chief. More importantly, the Sianu Nation haven't been included in that report. They have a comprehensive development, as you know, in the OCP. They should be included in the report. To 8.1, I've looked over the designs. I'm an excavator operator, builder of roads, developer. The current plan put forward it's basically unrealistic. It should be absolutely basic in relation to the current needs of this community, being affordable. I see $50 million price tag failing. You have no backup plan. I've been asking for quite some time about a backup plan. There is no backup plan. We still don't know what the province's plan is for Highway 14, and that's a 20-year build out. We need to know that. I can talk a long time about this issue because I've been working on it for the last 2 terms. Seems that nobody wants to listen to me. I'm here to help. I think the community's here to help. We need to get back to the basics. To 8.3, UBCM costs. There was some comments made by a councillor that I won't even repeat, but I would offer this, is that you need to speak with some other councils that are reviewing their strategy related to UBCM and conferences attendance. Some of those councillors, being the Highlands, Councillor Baird, in fact, has made statements similar to the citizen statements that looked at the budget constraints that they're providing, and they don't see a lot of benefit in these conferences. So it makes sense to downscale some of the costs. So thank you very much for your attention to these. I'm happy to help if you want help.
Okay, thank you. Other speakers this evening?
Your Worship, my apologies. I did just want to advise that the public input session is typically limited in the procedure bylaw to 20 minutes, and this has currently been going on for exactly 20 minutes. So the council may wish to, considering that I believe 2 people just indicated they are heading to the speaker's podium, you might wish to just take a vote on extending that in order to.
I'll extend it as my privilege of chair, and if council disagrees, they can challenge. Okay, thank you. Please proceed, Ms. Dunn.
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Mary Dunn, and I am with the Sooke Region Community Health Network, wanting to speak to item 12.1. Just reiterating a lot of what's already been said. There is obvious support in Sooke for the gathering place to take forward, that it is more than a senior center. It is also space for youth. It's also space for community to meet the needs of a lot of those that aren't able to or have difficulty providing their services because of lack of space in Sooke. So wanting to address that. Addressing the motions that are put forward, we are always interested in looking at alternatives and have all the way along. I have spoken to the president of the community development or the developers in Sooke, that new group, that did express interest in working with us, but only if we had something in writing from council saying that we could build this on Lot A. Once that occurs, then we can move forward. Looking at ways of decreasing the cost of building, to me, makes sense that this be a community build, that the community be involved, that it be something that they have ownership in. We are also, continuing to fundraise. Once we have a settlement on exactly where this can go, we can also go after bigger funds to help augment and not cost the taxpayers much money. We have now raised over 300,000. As of today, we are quite a bit over 300,000 and are getting more in all the time. So continuing to work forward on that. I'd like to see both these motions go forward parallel. The plebiscite motion to continue to be looking into that, but also to have discussions with the new build that's going in to see whether that's an opportunity or not as well. So encourage those to go forward in parallel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other speakers?
Hello, Jeff McDonald. It's a difficult time to talk about spending, obviously. And so this is about the gathering place. I think creativity is key to a lot of problems. So there's a saying that deadline is the oxygen of fundraising. And it seems like there might be an opportunity here if we are at a bit of an impasse where a deadline can be put into place where X amount of money was raised by the community. It could serve as a sort of a pseudo referendum for this project. And that, you know, the outcome of that could be cost matched with the town, finding a creative solution to it and to get the result that clearly everybody wants, but is a little bit afraid to fund. So it's just a suggestion along those lines. And then the other one I just mentioned about the transportation. A lot of discussion. There's a lot of fear around traffic in Sooke and stuff like that. I'd just like to put forth that any thought about the future of Sooke should really be considered in the context of where transportation is going with automation and stuff like that. 20 years down the road is going to be a very, very different look at how cars are going to move back and forth from Victoria. Cars are going to be much like trains. They'll all be banded together. So the transportation situation is going to be very, very different than it is today. So we don't have to be as terrified about traffic in the future as perhaps we think we need to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other speakers this evening? Any other first-time speakers?
This on? Okay. My name is Roseanne Day, and I'm here with permission from my Better at Home client who sat 3 years in a wheelchair during COVID, who, when she had the senior bus, she looked forward to that trip every month. She said, getting to know the people, sitting with them for 7-8 hours, those were the people that she had tea with. Those were the people she went to lunch with. Those were the people she talked to at night. She goes to the grocery store now. There is a cost, but there's another cost that's bigger. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Day. And does that conclude all the speakers this evening? Oh, you have one more. We'll have our final speaker, and then we'll move on into tonight's agenda.
My name is Sinclair Phillip. I live in downtown Sooke, and I'm a strong supporter of the gathering place and would like to keep the plebiscite on the ballot. It is something that our community really needs as we grow older quickly. I would like to see the Throup Road connector costing $20 to $50 million taken off the agenda, off the ballot. I'm concerned about, as already been expressed, the very negative impact it will have on the Sooke Regional Museum. I do not believe that it will impact traffic in any significant way. I only see traffic as getting worse. We have some very big new subdivisions going in Sooke that may bring 1,000 more cars on the road in the near future. I was very fortunate to attend an expert discussion including Levi Meganbeer on affordable solutions to transportation and his recommendation, and I have a lot of respect for him and his senior level in transportation and his analytical abilities and research. He recommends that we put in an HOV lane. I'm talking affordability here, coming back from Victoria towards Sooke, and I hope you will, and the municipal staff will try and take a minute to study that. And just one last comment. I feel crushed by the increase in municipal taxation, but at the same time, our taxes go to support a number of community groups, and I think that it would be honest for anybody proposing tax reductions to, before the election, tell us exactly where they're going to cut. So
Okay.
we will know who to vote for.
Thank you. We're at time. Thank you. Okay. Oh, yes, go ahead, Mr. Anderson. The mic is on. Oh, it's off.
It's
It's on.
Good evening, guys. Good to see everyone. Concerning
Sorry, you just need to introduce yourself for the record. Thank you.
Steve Anderson, resident of Sooke. Concerning the 12.1, the issue of the gathering place, just a little perspective from my almost 20 years in the performing arts scene in Sooke. All the groups have always had problems getting access to places to use, and including with the school district, because it's shared places. Same with the community hall, all these different venues. I would hate to see the same thing happen with the gathering place and seniors programs in the future if it's shared with a medical facility. And I think it's a good idea that would be a good plan B, having it shared with in that space, rented out, whatnot. But I would very much love to see a standalone gathering place building, not with housing or anything attached, something that would be managed by the searching group and the seniors and the youth. And as far as cost, that can always be subsidized by rentals to the different user groups. There's ways around that. There's lots of crafty business-minded people around Sooke who can make that happen. And as far as saving the taxpayers' money, a Habitat for Humanity style build. That could be something that could go on the long-term history of Sooke, have a nice gathering place building done, an epic building built well by volunteers in the community, not just fundraising money, but also fundraising material. And there's lots of professional people here who would love to come and volunteer and help all the workers get it done. So just some ideas and thoughts there. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. This concludes our public input section today. I just wanted to advise folks on process. At a previous meeting, council discussed the plebiscite, and the outcome of that decision was to direct staff to report back on the next steps and how we include this on the ballot. So we are still in the process of waiting for that staff report, which will be coming soon to council, because we need to then have time, once it's approved, to send it off to the inspector for municipalities to approve the question before it goes on to the ballot. So we are one step. There's various steps along the way. In terms of Councillor Haldane's motions, or the ones that were provided by members of council, that was read in at a previous meeting. It will receive a second tonight. It can be amended and discussed and then be actioned on or withdrawn to be determined. So there's more to come. You're more than welcome to stay. And there's also, the meeting is recorded on YouTube. You could watch the outcome from that. And of course it's, or check in at a later date or reach out to any member of council. But I'll just pause now, as I think some folks are looking to leave. So we'll just give it a few moments for folks to disperse, and then we'll carry on. Thank you. Okay, if I can have everyone's attention back here, please. We'll move on to item 7, which is our consent agenda. And that would be that the following items on the consent agenda to be adopted by consent: 7.2 correspondence, 7.3 report of the chief administrative officer, 7.4 climate adaptation and natural hazard risk assessment. So that's moved by Councillor Haldane, seconded by Councillor Beddoes. Okay, Councillor Haldane, did you have anything to withdraw? Councillor Beddoes.
Yeah, 13A, I'd like it brought to the next meeting.
13A correspondence.
Yeah, provincial response to 2025 resolutions, Union of BC municipalities.
Okay, so 13.8 come to the next. Is there anything other? Councillor Bateman.
Yeah, I'd like 29Q, annual report of the Victoria Family Court, and 30R, local government climate action program funding.
Okay, is there anything else? I will request item 20H, which is the All Sooke Day Family Picnic Sooke Community Association, to go to the next meeting. And just in regards to item 30 correspondence, there's just a typo. I think it's the mayor of Saanich and not the major, but it's immaterial, the new title. Is there anything else from anyone? Okay, I'll just comment briefly on the climate adaptation and natural hazard risk assessment. Yes, a lot of that information in that high-level report was something that we all know, but this is now a requirement of the province that every local government in BC provide this particular reports, which is why they provided the funding to hire the consultant, and it also will deem us eligible for future funding. Without it, we are ineligible for funding. It was similar to their approach with Bill 44. All right, on that, I will call the question. All in favor of receipt? Any opposed? None are opposed. That's unanimous, and those items will come to the Rex regular meeting. We'll move into item 8 is our report section, and first up is 8.1, which is the Throup Road, Phillips Road connector project.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I tried to prepare a very short presentation. I'll see if I succeeded or not. But I am an engineer and I do like PowerPoint, so we'll try. Maybe we won't. There we go. Okay, so two master transportation plans. This corridor has been identified, or some variation of it, as providing a second east-west connector through Sooke to lands beyond. Some of this is already being constructed by the Wadham's Way and the unfilled circles. And that totals about $17 million. So Sooke has made a fair investment in trying to move forward with this concept, as we've seen. We did receive from the provincial government a letter that was fairly blunt in its wording, where it says, unless Sooke does something internally, they're not going to do anything on Highway 14. I mean, they will use that as an excuse that if we have not done anything, why should they? So this is the specific projects that were looked at. There's technically 3 of them, but they were grouped into one in order to go for grant funding. So you have CP 4, 5, and 6. And they vary in their cross-sectional widths. From church to charters, it's 20 meters, and the rest of it is 25. And that's based off the transportation master plan. Those cross-sections were identified for what arterials look like. And the main difference is you don't have a center turning lane or medium or someplace to put trees in the middle of the road. That's the main change between the two of them. PowerPoint. No, forget it then. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of the detailed design. We're hovering between the three projects between 75 and 85%. We've looked at the roundabout, which was included at this time because in about 10 to 15 years, we will have to build something similar to that. So if we're going to go forward with the construction, this would be the time to do it so we keep an acceptable level of service. Obviously, active transportation is a component of most grants nowadays. I don't think I've ever seen one just for building a road anymore. It always has to include some form of active transportation. We've been working with our partners, CRD, Hydro, Fortis, to see if they can make use of this corridor. There will be retaining walls involved in this. We're working with the province / DFO to how to deal with the section through CP5. And we're already starting to think about what protocols we're going to need for chance find. No, this is very small, so I hope you have the report to read. Essentially, it just breaks down the three projects into individual parts and then the total. The 4 grants that we have applied for. We have received one for $500,000 for active transportation. We have not received word on 2 of them. So we're still waiting to hear. If we're lucky, I'm thinking we might hear June, but since these are joint federal and provincial grants, the federal government sometimes moves at its own pace. And I've seen sometimes year or 2 years for a grant to be approved. On the right-hand side, based off of what we have for knowledge for what we have received, what's being denied, what the borrowing amounts would be. And again, we would go to the Municipal Finance Authority to do this. They have generally a lower rate than going to your normal bank. It would be a 30-year payback, and we use an interest rate of 4%. That does vary on the day you actually go and make the agreement with them. This is just an example of what a full cross-section, as I have called it, is. So you have 2 active transportation on each side. You have stormwater management, you have a turning lane, you have an island for speed control and beautification, you have street lighting and such. This is what I would call the reduced cross-section, where basically you have just 2 lanes of road. You might have, as you go by the power pole there, you can kind of see a bicycle symbol there. So you could have a joint sidewalk bicycle lane, but no separation from the road. And on the other side, little or no shoulder, stormwater drainage and lighting as well. This one will be determined more after we have the initial discussion on what cross-section, which is the real important question that I need clarified in order to complete this design. So I'll leave these ones just as a teaser out there, just to possible questions. And basically, I would like to confirm the road cross-sections, complete the detailed design tender package that would give us either 1 mega shovel-ready project or 3 projects that are shovel-ready. So when funding does come along, we can apply for it. Generally, shovel-ready projects are looked on more favorably than ones that are in the conceptual stage. So it would be helpful for us to have this look at it. Same with acquiring the land as well. It would be something we could tell the funders that we are serious about this. We've made steps and we've invested in ourselves in order to move this forward. All I can do with the grant status is try to bother as many people as I can, but they are very tight-lipped about what they do with the grant funding. So we can try, and hopefully we'll hear in June, which will influence what type of question we can ask if a question is going to be asked on the ballot. And I am here for questions.
Okay, so council is sitting in regular council, so I know there's a lot of thoughts and questions about this. So the motion I'm going to recommend at this time is that council receive the report for information. Moved by Councillor McMath, seconded by Councillor Bateman. In doing so, that opens it up for questions, and then we can then potentially narrow it down to another decision point motion. Councillor McMath, you have the floor.
I'm just gonna hold off at this time.
Okay, Councillor Bateman in the microphone.
Well, the danger of seconding a motion. You know, so you've argued in your report that doing sections individually will cost significantly more over time. Tell me more about that. So if we were to do just CP4, for example, in this cycle,
Through the mayor to the councillor, every time we go, as if we break these up into 3 sections, we will have to tender each section. There will be a demobilization cost by the contractor, which is, depending on what the project is, can be fairly significant, but it is an extra cost being added into the project. There also become smaller projects, so they become not as attractive, and you'll see contractors raising their costs because of the smallness of the project. I'm not sure how else to say it. When you put the 3 of them together, there's advantages that we're presenting a very large project to them, which some of the larger contractors would seriously look at and would be able to get in there and conceivably not cost us those 2 extra mobs and demobs. They might have lower unit rate prices because they know they have guaranteed work for whatever time frame they think it's going to take to do this. And the third one is, we basically, if we kept them all as one, we bother the neighborhood for 2 years or so, as opposed to spend a year building, go away for 2 years, come back, spend another year building and such. So that's kind of a high level view of 1 versus 3.
okay, thank you, Mr. Miller. I'm curious about the missing link in here. You do mention it in the report, is of course the Charters intersection at Sooke Road. And you indicate, I think, that is pending available capital to proceed with that project. I thought that we were in a good position with that. Moving forward, I think I heard from your predecessor this year even. Not going to happen this year.
Through the mayor to the councillor, we're doing detailed design right now in conjunction with MOTT. Once that's done, once funding becomes available on our side and their side, then the project can move forward. My last discussion I had with MOTT, they have not suggested to us that there is any money available, at least this year, or maybe possibly not next year. But never say never.
Okay, now do you believe that action, in addition to the north-south connectors that we have built to date, would qualify in the ministry's opinion as significant work by the District of Sooke on our road network?
To your worship, to the councillor, I think that would really be a political decision on the provincial level, and if they wanted to play nice, yes, it would be. If they decided they didn't want to play nice, they would deem it not.
Okay. One more before I pass the torch here. In your expert opinion, do you feel Charters is capable of handling, as you well know, there's been discussion of right turn lanes off of Sooke Road onto Phillips, Charters and Church. And if indeed there was, in your expert opinion, a right turn lane leading to that intersection at Charters, would that serve as a useful outlet for traffic on Sooke Road?
Your Worship, through the counselor, it's moving a little away from the discussion about the connector, but an improved intersection that could handle both right in, right out, left-hand turns would provide another outlet that individuals could use Throup Road to bypass that section of Sooke Road and get that much further ahead. How much significance? I wouldn't be able to tell you right at this time. I do know from experience driving in on the morning on Church, there's a fair significant use of it to left-hand turn onto Sooke and vice versa on the other way at afternoon rush hour. So probably what would happen is that load would be spread out between Charters and Church.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Beddoes, then Haldane.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. To staff, is there an opportunity in the next little while to give us a cost estimate of just the CP5 section? I mean, I realize it's going to be just a guesstimate at best with a reduced cross section, because if we did it piecemeal, and I'm not saying I'm in favor of piecemeal, that might be enough if we did that section to spark the province into doing something about their highway through our town, which has always been a battle. And it's frustrating to me when I hear them, you know, put that ultimatum, you do this or we won't do that. The other thing, so that is my one request. The second one is, I believe that we were given some money from MOTT to design that right turn lane, 3 lanes going from Phillips up to Charters. So they would be 1 lane going down to the bridge and 2 lanes going up. And that, to me, if we had that 3rd lane, that would peel off a lot of traffic and really alleviate some of the road rage that we're getting. And when we had Charters closed, the public made it very, very clear they wanted to see us act. So I'm really, really having a tough time with anything going to $50 million to the public. I just don't think it'll pass. But if CP5 could be carried through, it's not my preferred. I like to do a proper streetscape, but I'm also concerned about getting something done to alleviate some of the traffic. So if you could give me some sort of indication on CP5 only, and where we sit with that right turn 3rd lane, because I think it's already engineered, if I remember from your predecessor. If you could comment on that too, please.
Your Worship, through the counselor, with respect to CP5, I think the important question is whether or not council would like to see a 20 or 25 meter right of way. 25 meter right of way allows you the option to do work later on. And that would gives you flexibility in the future. If council could direct me to what parts of the elements of the cross section they don't want to see, then I could get the consultant to adjust that cost down. I can't give you a number right off the top of my head.
That could just, the council could, and that's why I put the motion to receive for information, because subsequent motions could be a direction to that effect. And then my understanding of the design work, it was Phillips to Church Road, and it was a right-hand turn lane that was being designed all the way to Church.
Correct.
Not just Charters, but all the way to
I'd be
Church.
happy with just
Because
Charters.
Church is a bottleneck as well.
Yeah.
With respect to that one, I don't have an answer because I haven't been briefed on that part of the history of the project. So
Okay.
I would have to get back to you on that one.
That's fine. That's just a thought for later, but
Yeah.
I think there's a procedural piece. Any other?
Well,
Councillor
just
Beddoes?
your worship,
Yeah.
on CP5, if council is considering to build a portion of this connector, that would probably be the one to build. And then you would live with the infrastructure you already have. And if we decided that we didn't want to put in bike lanes and such, or we just have to make sure we like the cross section, because once we put in the retaining walls and a lot of curb and gutter, going back to change those are going to be very expensive
Okay.
to do.
That's good information. Thank you.
Councillor Haldane, then Pearson.
Yeah, a few questions here. So in your costing here, from 22.48 million all the way up to 49.29, is there land acquisition costs in any of that?
Worship, through the counselor, that was captured in the contingency costs because we did not proceed in that direction until we had this discussion about how much right of way we needed, but we're estimating in the 1.5 range for acquiring land for the 25-meter right of way cross section.
1.5 million?
Yeah. I believe that's what I wrote.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah, I don't see where that would be even remotely enough, but given that, fair enough. So in many cases along this route, you've got pinch points, 5.2 or 15.2 meters, 16.4 meters. I mean, we don't have 20 meters in hardly any of it. And we definitely don't have 25. So to acquire all that land, to come through a process, I mean, we're guessing at those values, obviously. And for the people I've talked to along that route, and I've talked to most of them, there is no appetite for giving the district Sooke any of the land for any reason whatsoever. So I don't see a 20-meter road even being an option, or a 25. So ultimately here, we'd be having to look at what we could do with what we have. And 15.2 meters is the smallest section. And I've done some math on some of the stuff, but 15.2 would still give us one bike lane, similar to what Councillor Beddoes has talked about, a bike lane and a sidewalk on one side of the road, and then some pavement to get cars moving. And at this point, that's the most important part. If you look at Sooke Road, there's no bike lanes, there's no sidewalks, and this is Highway 14. So we come all the way out from Langford, all the way out to Sooke with what we have, which is traffic lanes to get traffic moving from one end to the other. And I think it's important here for us to look at it for that aspect, because the people of Sooke are upset that it takes them 2 hours to get home from work. We need to get traffic moving. I don't see a lot of people biking, especially in the wintertime, from Sooke to Victoria to go to work anyway. So if something that we could afford would be the other thing, and 22.48 million is still a 9.54% tax increase. I don't see that passing in any kind of plebiscite that we'd put forward as well. So it leaves us in a situation where, do we go through all this work and through all this stuff? From what I understand, we spent somewhere around $800,000 already on costing out this road with engineering, with these plans and stuff like that. So you're getting close to $1 million already. How much more millions are we going to spend in this, 6 cross sections and stuff to come up with something that may or may not ever get used? So that money would be completely wasted. So there should be more talk around what we think we can afford. And what I think we could afford is pavement at this point, and getting a road, probably just like Councillor Beddoes was saying, maybe just from Phillips up to, the ballpark or the golf course is up there. And that could get another road for people from Sun River to be able to go uptown of Sooke without having to go out on Sooke Road, which causes a lot of the traffic congestion that we have as well. And people who live up Otter Point roadway and up in those subdivisions on Church Road could go that way on their way home from work, alleviating a lot of the people going up to the roundabout. So I think at this point, having one more cross section, if we're going to do any more further stuff, or if we're going to have people vote on it, there should be the least expensive based on what property we do have that we don't have to spend money on, being 15.2 meters, and try and come up with a road cross section for that. And that would just give them an alternative. You can put all the other ones in there too, but if you give people the option of checking on the dotted line for a tax increase, if it was down to 3% or 4%, I'm sure there'd be more people voting yes in favor of the road based on that than they would be for 9.54, and that's the lowest one we have an option for at this time. And that's all I have at this moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pearson.
Through the chair, thank you. So you answered the question on the, I've got 4 questions here. So the land acquisition cost is, you estimated according to the report, 1.5, I think is something like that. And is that 1.5 captured in the 50 million? I didn't kind of see where that linked through.
It's sitting in the contingency amounts.
Only in contingency, okay. What about, you talked about walls being built, the new engineered walls, and then we have the new 2025 standard, engineered standard for these walls. Are those walls factored in? Because when you think about Phillips Road, like coming off the highway, that's a pretty steep decline to the west side of the road, or to the east side of the road, I should say. Are those walls, because I think they're getting more and more and more expensive all the time because of the new engineering standards. So.
Your worship, through the councillor, yes, the walls were included in that cost. They are engineered retaining walls that would be done to seismic standards. Our consultants feel with their expertise and understanding of soil mechanics that these are perfectly, we can construct them and they would be stable.
Okay, good. You talked about MOTT and the Charters Road cost, like that intersection that we have to come forward at some point in the future. Is there any kind of ballpark figure on what our share of that would be? That's going to be over the 50 million, I take it.
Through the worship, through the mayor to the councillor, my understanding is that's a separate project. And so, yes, it would have its own cost and its own time frame for moving forward.
It's just that there's more and then there's more and then there's more, the way I'm looking at this. Then you said something about the province playing nice. So building on what Councillor Haldane said, I kind of did some math this afternoon, and if we could look at interim and alternate, or interim and ultimate kind of roads, because currently right now we have there's a whole bunch of sections that are in that are way less than 20 meters. They're 15, 15.2, 15.8, according to the maps anyways. So if we build a 3-meter bike lane on one side, a 3-meter travel lane, a 3-meter left turn, or 3.6-meter travel lane, which is our standards, 3.6 on the other side with 3 meters in the middle, and then a 2-meter sidewalk, that comes out to just over 15 meters. So I think we could build the entire project in the existing right-of-ways that we already have at that, if that was something that council could do. Is that kind of understand what I'm asking, if you think that's a possibility?
To the mayor, to the councillor, again, these cross sections were chosen through the transportation master plan, which again, council had approved. So that was our starting point. If you want to reduce that cross section, you're moving basically from the arterial style that the master plan envisions to something smaller. It is probably doable. It won't be to a standard that we're trying to achieve. And again, I guess the problem would be as into the future, if future councils decide that they want to have basically what the transportation master plan is, now you have to go through the whole process of either acquiring land or going through expropriation. So and land still keeps increasing in cost. So what could be 1.5 now could be whatever in the future.
And my thought around that is the securing lands or increasing those right-of-ways at the time of DP, because this is going to be a fairly developable corridor for the large part of it. The biggest partner that we have to kind of come to terms with is the CRD themselves. That's that long stretch down at the bottom where I think there's only 10 meters right now, according to that map. And I think they put a fairly significant price tag on that piece. My questions are leading towards, is the plebiscite, are we running out of time? Like there's a lot of, we're in June next week. Is the question going to be relevant? Are we going to be prepared enough to actually have that question on the ballot for middle of October?
Your worship, to the counselor, part of this is dependent on the grant funding because you need to know what number you're going to be asking the public. If we cannot get an answer on the grant funding, that will determine what that question looks like, whether it's a non-binding one, which is just asking whether or not you support it, or it could be one, can we borrow up to this amount? If it's the latter one, again, it would have to go to the Inspector of Municipalities for approval. So if we don't find out about grant funding soon, the decision will be made for us.
Yeah, and I kind of got that suspicion that's 15 billion in the negative side for our province, but anyways, that's my outside voice. It's important for us to come up with a logical approach to this because I think it's needed. I mean, we recently had a petition that said, 4,000 people want to get home earlier and all those things, but interim versus ultimate, I think is a way for us to move forward. So anyway, I don't have any more questions right at the moment, but I probably will.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McMath.
Just touching on a comment a councillor made earlier, I would like us to send a letter to the province asking what exactly is the dollar amount that the District of Sooke needs to spend in order for them to invest in future planning for the highway. Because I find that statement so bizarre. And then we've already put millions of dollars in, but apparently that's not enough. So what is it exactly? I would just like some clarity from them because that would give us direction as well. And you had said that CP5, that's the most, if we're to triage each section, that's the highest priority in your opinion?
Your worship, through the counselor, that is the only section that doesn't have a road on it right now. So if we build CP5, we can connect between Phillips and Throup. They wouldn't be at a level of service that one would like and probably would decline fairly fast as they start to be used, but it would allow a secondary exit or access way into the Sooke downtown.
And we've had some discussion about one-sided infrastructure for trails. Do you see grants less successful when someone uses a multi-use trail versus these separate pedestrian, bicycle, vehicle lanes?
Through your worship to the counselor, it is really what the attitude of the funding partner is at the time. Sometimes they want to see a full-blown separated sidewalk, bike lanes, and sometimes they will be more forgiving and say, just as long as you put a sidewalk and a bike lane on one side, they're fine. If we do receive grant funding and we've changed the scope, I will have to go back and negotiate with them to see if they would maintain the costs that they're willing to do. And that they may say yes, or they may say no. It
That's my
depends.
next question. Yeah, okay.
That one I won't know until I talk to them.
And how-ish is turnaround time for adjustments on scope?
Again, I would love to be able to give you a number, but I can only give you depending on the funding agency and how difficult they want to be,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. It could be 1 month or it could be 6.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll go to Councillor Haldane and then I have some comments and then Councillor Beddoes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my last one would be, and I'm only going to use, I've got a friend in the MFA and he talks about borrowing and the abilities to borrow. And if you look at Saanich recently, they're building the Keating overpass and they've got provincial funding, 57.6 million. They've got federal grant funding, 16.7 million. And their portion was only 2.5 million of that entire $76.8 million build. They're at over 140 million now. There was $38.5 million in cost overruns just to get out of the ground. So Saanich is now on the hook, they figure, for around over $60 million. Their $2.5 million expectation is now at over 60 million. So these borrowing and expectations of any of these builds, the simpler we make it, the less challenging it becomes to come up with these walls, these property acquisition funds and things like that. So we have to help people understand that if we talk about a 9.54% tax increase and it turns out to be a 20% tax increase, we pay the price here. So we really have to be really considerate of the taxpayer when we're trying to come up with funding of this, how we're going to get there. And probably the simplest route again, and I'll reiterate, I want the simplest route as possible. I want to get cars moving from A to B and have some transfer lanes for bikes and for people, but not at the cost of 20% or losing this referendum because we make it so expensive it's impossible to do. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just some comments for myself, and I appreciate the work that's been done. In terms of conversations with the CRD, there is a comment within this report. It is an exchange of land. There is no way for us as a local government to expropriate land from the province, the regional government, or any other. It's an exchange of land. And I'll note that to the member that spoke earlier today, a member of the public, Ms. E from the museum, they commented that when the facilities are both busy, the parking is full. And that isn't just special events. On Tuesday, the parking at Sea Park is full all the time. And it's busy all the time, never mind special events. In terms of the comments about just a bike lane or a sidewalk on one side, this area, it's a dramatic, who we're not thinking of and who has not spoken at all in this room today are the school kids. This has hundreds of school kids using this corridor on a daily basis all the time. So there is all of Journey Middle School that will often go through that corridor and make their way home to other sports, the soccer field, to the arena, to the corner store, to the bus, and so on. There's also a lot of students who go to Edward Milne who will cross over from the Church Road, all of the main part of Sooke, they cross through that corridor and go to school on that way. So when you talk about making this easier for commuters, you're displacing school children. And then you're suggesting that it's okay for them to walk just on one side of the road or on a bike. They are on scooters, they're biking, they're walking, and there are volumes. And if you don't believe me, I would suggest you go down Phillips Road anytime after 2, and you'll see them. You'll stop on Phillips to have them cross through. They go through down past Sea Park and over. So it's the case there. How will they, what are we going to do? If we do anything, how will they move? Will they just be the expectation then that they go through the lower field and go up the hill and get over that way? Or will they be on this road? Or is it just not a road for pedestrians at all? And then for Sun River students, they have some options with a new trail depending to get to Journey, but you do have a large volume of EMCS students. The other part is Sea Park is going through a significant facilities plan, strategic plan for the next several years, and what that facility needs, because it is maxed out, which is why at a previous council meeting, council has now given permission for the facility to have yoga outside in the park. Why? Because indoors is full. So now they are looking to provide offerings in the summer outside because the facility itself is full. If anyone here is in the world of hockey, you'll know that any hockey family is looking for a second sheet of ice, programmable ice, more space. And then where will that ice go? It needs to go beside the current sheet of ice because, as we know, at the dry floor arena, and I'm getting off point here, but my point is any change or any impact, any land we take from Sea Park will significantly hamper their ability to expand into the future. Any parking that we take away will severely impact the programming of that facility. It's well used, it's not underused, it's significant, and that is, and the corridor is highly used by school-aged children. Now that the new skate park has opened up, again, significant draw of all ages, scooting, skating, getting there. So now we're going to introduce a lot of traffic onto a road that's relatively quiet right now. It's safe to walk, safe to bike because there is no traffic. There's the traffic that comes up Church, or pardon me, up Charters, turns left, or those that are at the ball field, or those that play golf seasonally, nothing in the off season. So it's quiet, it's relatively safe. It'll change once volumes of commuter cars are being added to this corridor on a day-to-day basis. So I'm okay to, receive this for information. The other point on this, to another speaker that spoke earlier, what is in the ground remains a complete unknown. I'm glad to see that the archaeological considerations have been taken, but we do not know what's in the ground. Though we do know when we've done work anywhere around Phillips Road, we have come across middens. We've come across sites of significance. We certainly found that on Phillips Road and on Charters Road. There's high probability of archaeological finds in this ground. So then what does that do to the project? It'll escalate, it'll slow down, it'll stop, it'll escalate. In terms of an ask of the province, we can always send a letter. We also have another agenda item to deal with UBCM meeting requests and what that may look like. But I will share, in previous conversations when we were advancing the work of Charters, we heard from our most recent MLAs that we need to punch the road through. The problem is not the highway, it's dispersing traffic. Sooke needs to get on, punch the road through, and get on with dispersing traffic. It's not the highway, it's all Sooke because the traffic isn't dispersing. Our current and previous said that on multiple occasions. I pushed back saying, well, when school gets out though, the slowdown starts in Casinos, which is on your side, and what are you doing about that? That's where it starts, and that's not going to change because there is no plan to do anything with Casinos other than the upgrades to Idlemore, which will be occurring over the summer, hopefully. There's an announcement, Idlemore will change, and there'll be different access into Casinos. But when school gets out, that's when it starts. That's when the bus has to pick up those kids. And then it continues and traffic will stop all on that side. Regardless, and I'm interested to see where council lands on this, we were waiting and we're running out of time because we wanted to know what the answer was on the grants. And as we know of today, we only know about one of them. We don't know about all three. And when that outcome is, it's your guess is as good as mine. The federal government has indicated a need to push ahead, and the province is in a deficit position, as we all know. And every grant program that's being applied to is oversubscribed. And I have a stat somewhere, it's like 7-1. Like they're completely oversubscribed. So anyone that gets anything is fortunate to receive it. So in terms of active transportation, to your question, Councillor McMath, we received some funds from the province for the Little River Demamiel Trail Connector. The province supported that because the federal government showed up at the table for that corridor first, and then they showed up afterwards with the rest. And it's not a paved surface, it's not a bike lane, it's a gravel, but it's an active route to school. And so we received the funding for that. So this is a challenging one, but it's one that has come up every term, every time I've been on council, longer than I've been here, certainly before when it was first entertained. But there are some considerations that I keep in mind. The school kids and C Park's facility needs, the impact to the museum, and now on a quiet road, you're adding more traffic. So all of that needs to be considered, I think, regardless of how you go forward on this. I think we have a bit of time before we run out of time. And I know that our corporate officers provided us with those dates. And maybe in the end, a question is just a plebiscite. Do you support a road in this area or not? Yes or no? Because if it's no, then we are spending a lot of time, all the time, every term on a road that nobody wants. Or maybe it is. I don't know. What will this do for traffic? It remains to be seen. Will it disperse traffic the way everyone wants? Well, we still have one bridge. There's still one bridge. And I recall when that bridge was shut for 9 hours because of a certain incident that occurred on it. Sooke River Road also had an accident that shut everything down. So it depends. It's not going to, even if we did somehow land all the grants, the plebiscite passed, it's still one bridge, and you still have Casinos located where it is, and all the pinch points along the way. So in some ways I wonder, what is the expectation? Like no traffic? Like no slowdowns at all ever? Because that's unreasonable. Just try going through Langford on a busy afternoon and see how long it takes in rush hour. It's always stuck. It's busy. So no traffic is not an answer. So it's one to consider in terms of other councillors saying, yes, it will dramatically alter. Are you comfortable with higher density development occurring in this corridor? Maybe you are, I don't know. That's a question we have yet to see. It would be a revision to our official community plan. The next council can take that on and decide if that's where they want growth and development to be. And then we have to talk to transit to get transit there because there is no transit service there. And if there's no transit, people will drive anyway. So you're still dealing with congestion. But I do like an earlier speaker with the comments of thinking ahead on what vehicle use actually looks like in 20 years. Fascinating conversation. Love to see something change, but I also know for over 20 years, people have also been trying to get the Island Rail corridor going. And for over 20 years, we've been sitting here dealing with this road referendum. So I don't know. The future is open. It's possible. Certainly where we are now is not what I had thought we would be at 10 years ago, but that's the reality of everything. Wisdom is hindsight. And here we are today, and it's a costly time. I hear the angst around property taxes. Certainly I felt that myself when I opened my bill, but I also know we're not alone. This is a cost pressure across BC and across Canada. And I've mentioned we're dealing with an antiquated system to deal with the modern reality of today. And that's not going to change until the province changes that funding model. So I'm all over the place, but that's why I like the motion is to receive for information. And I'm going to call that question, and then I'll go to Councillor Beddoes, who has another motion that he would like to put forward, and then we'll see where the rest of this go, because this is all just about receiving this today for information. So I'll call the question on that. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Councillor Beddoes, you have a motion you would like to read in?
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Worship. I just have a little bit of a preamble is, I'm
You
trying
need to make your motion and get a
Okay.
seconder, and then you can speak to it.
Drat, okay. Anyways, I would like to motion that we have staff cost out CP5 only. And that they costed out and for 15.2, 20 and 25 meters. And that a sidewalk and a bike lane be on that section. Is that, I guess I need to know from staff, is that realistic?
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll get that motion on the screen.
Okay,
And then we can be certain that that is what you read out. We'll look for a seconder, and then we can go from there.
okay.
That's the process.
I would like to speak to it.
Yes, you will, as the mover,
Okay.
provided we have a seconder. You want us to wait on the screen? I think my understanding, and I'll read it out, is that staff cost out CP5 only for a 15, 20,
25.
and 25 cross-section that includes bike lanes and sidewalks.
One bike lane, one side.
One bike lane and one sidewalk. Okay, that's seconded for discussion. I'll just ask staff that you've captured that before I go to Councillor Beddoes to motivate. They're good. They are typing. We're going to watch them type, but I think they have it. I'll go to you, Councillor Beddoes.
Yeah, I've been wrestling with this. I mean, I firmly believe in the cross section that we originally designed, but I'm also realistic. And this community cannot afford $50 million. And I'm pessimistic that the other levels of government's going to come through with any grants. Provincial government is in a very dire state. They're not going ahead with seniors care homes and all these other things that are drastically needed in our province. So I have a feeling that we'd be pretty low down on the grant funding. And the comments from our MLA is just absolutely mind-boggling, and I hope people remember that. And I'm not also good for an open-ended plebiscite saying that you agree in this this path. I think people want to know what it's going to cost. I'm not going to agree to something unless I know what the dollar value. Same with the gathering place. I wanted the dollar value. I wanted to know what that was. I wanted to make sure it was sufficient. So I think if we get this motion through and we get some cost estimates, it does give us an opportunity to put to the people something. And to me, it doesn't even matter if it goes on this October, even if it's next October. The difference is $50,000 to put it on, and you're looking at a $20 million project. That's small potatoes. But I did hear from people that they wanted us to get on with it, something. And if we do this, minimal as it is, it would alleviate some of the traffic, and then we can beat up the province a little bit. I think that would be enough to get them to move and fix their goddamn Highway 14, which is, sorry, the god awful Highway 14. Well, just again, I timed it going through the roundabout there. And you're lucky if you're traveling at 20 miles an hour. And all that traffic that goes up that road is going to back up. And with all these other things that the mayor's mentioned with the school and things. So we do need that bypass route. And it's not to get people to Otter Point and Port Renfrew. It's to get people to Helgeson. It gets people to all that housing in the internal part of town. So I think my motion is reasonable. I hope staff can do that. And it would give us something at least for people to ponder. And then we can probably move forward and get something done and get some traffic moving. So that's my motion. That's my motivation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to confirm that it was not 15, but 15.2 meters. Okay, good. Staff have that right. Councillor McMath is the seconder.
I would just make probably one friendly amendment to this, and I'd like to see the option of a multi-use trail in there.
Yeah, we can, I think that's,
Friendly.
well, you could go like one bike lane and or one sidewalk and or a multi-use trail, just to open it up.
Yeah.
I think I deem that as friendly as chair.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
It's funny, but the biggest challenge, like I have found sitting here, is that, especially being a COVID council, that emergencies have changed. And so priorities have shifted. So there was a huge push from the community to fix the issues with traffic. And now with the cost of living, that, to me, in my opinion, based on my assessment of conversations that I've had, is that, yeah, it's still important, but the cost of living is more important right now. That's a bigger priority than having all these build outs. So it's okay. I feel positive about the work that's already been done, because to have those pieces lined up, even if we do no sections or one section, we're in a spot that should all of a sudden we come into magically a whole bunch of money. At least we're prepared. We have it. We don't have to go back. We don't have to put all this money. It's already laid out. So if we come back to those pieces, it's already set. So I feel good about that. I feel fine about that. I'm looking forward to seeing the cost spectrum on this, because it's going to be challenging as a taxpayer when you get to your election time and it's, do you want to spend money here? Do you want to spend money here? And they're both wonderful ideas. It's either people are only going to choose one, which I'm struggling with on the ballot, or they won't choose any because it's overwhelming, because they're barely getting through with what they have now. Not to say that like those taxes have gone to amazing things like 24/7 emergency services, which is not always visible to people. So I understand sometimes when they're frustrated, but I'm just mindful of some of those pieces on the ballot. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this report.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Haldane.
Yeah, a couple of questions then. So maybe another friendly amendment. I like the 15.2 cross section that we could come up with pricing, but again, for austerity purposes, can we do it just through road portion? If you look at what we've been doing on Phillips Road now forever, you've got kids going to high school, going to Sun River and stuff, and they're using that portion of road now, whether it's the best portion or not on the planet, they're still using it, and we're not having a lot of fatalities or problems. People are getting to the arena and dealing with that. If we could just cost out the portion between Phillips and
That is what this is.
okay, this is just for the
Well,
one.
it's CP5 only,
Okay.
which is that particular
Okay,
section.
perfect. So the other thing, I guess, would be based on whether or not we decide to do a bike lane or sidewalks or whatever. I think in this case, we could come up with a multi-use trail that would be used for bikes. In Europe, they have people walking on the same trail. They actually have a dotted line. And then if you use your bike bell, yeah, it's a weird setup, but it works fantastic. And really, again, we need this road somehow, some way. We need to get people moving. Sun River now has probably 1,000 homes plus the ones beyond. And you've got all those people that need to get into Sooke. They need to shop, they need to do it. And so many people need to get home to that end of town. We have to come up with a solution here for sure. And you're right, people aren't going to vote for it at all unless it's affordable, because we're at the absolute precipice of where we are with our taxes and we cannot we cannot do anymore. So I'm of the walk, we come up with the most reasonable one possible. I mean, I get the 20 and 25. I think we've already priced it out. So you've already got all the material, and we don't need a traffic circle there. We just need a turn lane. So at this point, if you look at Otter Point, Grant Road and Otter Point, I mean, you look at Maple Avenue and Sooke Road and stuff, there's thousands of cars that go down those places every day. We've got stop signs there. So we can start with that. Again, it's the most interim solution on the planet. And later on, we can come up with other ideas if it comes down to that. So that's where I'm at with it. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Pearson?
Yes, thank you. And this is a motion that actually is going to get something done. So I do support it. You know, I think that we can do it affordable, 15.2 meters, I think, or 15.2. Yes, that's what I said. I'm hopeful this is going to happen. My questions to staff are you going to include, if we pass this motion, who's going to do the negotiating with the CRD? What will that look like? Because that's a significant land acquisition from CRD, and you know, to the mayor's point earlier, are they going to be reluctant to give up this piece for future development down there? So it's a lot of complications that are on this section. Not to mention any of the other things that are. It is. I'm extremely hopeful, and I'm going to support this, but I think it's complicated. How much is it going to cost us to get this estimate? Through worship to our engineer.
Through the mayor to the councillor, when you say the estimate, are you talking about the one that's going to be created by the motion, or?
Yes.
I'm probably in the range of 50,000, give or take some.
Just to get the estimate.
Yeah,
Okay.
give or take some.
If I may have another question, and what's your turnaround time on having that estimate?
Probably within a month or two, depending on what their workload is and how soon I can get it going. I would hope I would push them to have the answer by the end of June, but I can't guarantee it right now.
Yeah. If that is true, and I'm not doubting that it's true, is that enough time to get that question to the Municipal Finance Authority for a plebiscite or for a referendum question on October 17th?
We'll ask our corporate officer, because he does have a sort of a series of dates.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to all of Council, I've been in communication with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, who have advised that if we want to have a binding referendum on adopting a borrowing bylaw on the October 17th general election day of 2026, we would need to have got the bylaw to 3 readings and sent to the ministry with background material no later than the first week of July. They would prefer it by the last week of June. So if this manages within 1 month, then it would be a theoretical possibility at the very tightest. If it takes longer than a month, then we would no longer be able to make the October 17th voting day. And we would need to hold a different date.
And
So can I just interrupt? Like, is that for any question, or is it just for a borrowing one? What about just a general
Thank you for
plebiscite?
that clarification, Your Worship. That is purely to adopt a borrowing bylaw. If you wish to do a plebiscite simply to gauge community opinion, then I can add that to the ballot as late, potentially as late July or even into August, if that's the will of council.
Okay. So through the chair, does that borrowing bylaw for referendum require a public hearing?
Through Your Worship, a borrowing bylaw does not require a public hearing. The process for that would be, there is a bylaw template on the ministry website, which we would use, that lays out the content which must be in the bylaw, which is the amount of money we would be seeking to borrow, the term over which we would be seeking to borrow it, and the project for which it would be borrowed. That bylaw would be brought to council with a staff report. And at one meeting, it would need to get 3 readings of council and an instruction to send to the Inspector of Municipal Affairs at the Ministry in order to get their approval to have the referendum.
You could view it that the public hearing is the referendum vote itself.
Correct.
So there's public input, but it is like any bylaw. We give readings, we schedule a public hearing. In this case, there is no public hearing. It is the ballot question is the public hearing.
Correct. So the impact of that borrowing should come to a public hearing or public meeting.
It would come to a council to give first, we would have to do the readings, yeah.
Okay.
But we would be tight on time, so it'll depend, you know, I think if council advances this motion, then it's the case where our staff need to work with the consultant. They need to turn this around by the end of June. But then there would be a need for a series of special meetings in order to meet that drop dead deadline for borrowing. If it's the case then where that is not accomplished, then council could advance a plebiscite question, and then the next council could then take the outcome of that plebiscite and do a referendum with it based on what the community impact or not is. So it would be a case where, yes, you would need to decide then if you are going, take the outcome and then schedule a referendum. So that would be up to the next council to decide to do that.
And one further question to you, Your Honor. So where I'm going with this is that are we going to spend $50,000 in effort to get a question that we can't answer? You're right, we could defer it after the 50,000 to after the next election. But are we going to spend $50,000 now for a study to tell us that we can't ask the question? I can't support borrowing, or I can't support spending 50,000 on a question that we can't really have an answer to. And I understand timelines, and I'm not unaware of what that actually means, but I don't think it's wise use of our money. If we can't get there from here, then I don't think we should spend the money on an estimate.
Then to do this report. Yeah, I'll ask go to our corporate officer.
Thank you, Your Worship. I did just want to advise you and Council as well that, and of course, this would have some additional political calculations. I'm not advising you for or against this, but just making sure you are aware of it as an option. Although we've typically been discussing this in the realm of having a referendum, it would also be lawful to hold an alternative approval process, which is significantly cheaper than a referendum. So that would be another possibility for either this or an alternative council. It certainly would not be devoid of issues. And as I say, I'm not advocating in favor of that. I'm simply ensuring that you are aware that is a lawful option.
Yes, thank you for raising that. I didn't mention it because I don't like them at all, and I don't think our community really likes them all that well either. But I appreciate that it is an option that council can consider for sure. Okay, Councillor Bateman.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Beddoes, for bringing forward a path towards greater clarity. It does sound like we're going to be left with another non-binding plebiscite. I agree 50,000 is a lot. However, I feel we're at this point, given the affordability crisis that has been mentioned tonight, and we're all seeing it in our tax forms. I had a bit of a shock the other day, and it didn't change my mind about why we are increasing these taxes. Police, fire, asset management, and salaries for our good firefighters and municipal staff. However, I feel that this would be an opportunity to again test the pulse. What is the electorate's willingness? What is their pain point? Through this process, we will have a better understanding of those exact costs, and we can. It's interesting. I'm curious to see what the potential questions might be. It could be, as you know, do we go with one A, B, or C of these options? And for the project as a whole, how much are people willing to commit at this point in time? So I did come in here today thinking that CP4 was the right approach, to build it out, to count on charters being a particularly efficient way to funnel traffic off Sooke Road with that new intersection, that the province would thereby need to step up and act accordingly, given our commitments. But I can see the logic in CP5 alone. It's certainly not an emergency route for Sun River. That is not being solved with this, but it could, how, yeah.
It
That was a
depends.
good question. Maybe so.
It depends on the nature of an incident.
Mm.
And what I just say that if there is it depends on where there's an incident. And if there's massive flooding and Demonmiel Creek Bridge is damaged or a no pass, it does nothing for Sun River
Right.
residents because we are on the other side of that bridge
Right.
and that bridge is quite dated. So the add-on is newer, but if that bridge is out, there is no, we're walking out. I know the area well. Full disclosure, I live there, so I'm aware of when that road has flooded out and Phillips itself has flooded and we're walking. The fire lane. Well,
Near you.
well, there was a question asked about the fire lane exit. So at one point, we looked at potentially connecting Sun River via Stonewood to Helgeson Road. So it's a cul-de-sac that goes through a forest, through a farmer, like through a Helgeson farm. And then you still have to get over to Demonmiel Creek there. So you can eventually, I suppose, I don't know, go down a gully, like it's still steep because the corridor still goes. So you still have to navigate that and then go on the other side and let's go very far and then trespass through private property onto Pasco Road. But in an emergency, I suppose people are going to move in whatever way and the situation changes when things happen. I think, people are far more understanding, but you would not be able to push a wheelchair through any of that. Unless it's really big tires.
I will be voting in favor of this motion.
Okay. Counselor Bateman, you also asked what a plebiscite question might look like, and there are some in the staff report, and it would say something like, are you supportive of the construction of CP4, CP5, CP6, sections of the Throup Road connector as laid out in the 2020 master plan? If the project is to be constructed, which version of the cross section do you support? The full multimodal corridor design or a reduced corridor design? That is just a sample that's in there on what a plebiscite could be, but that is a lot for someone coming in to vote to be like, what are you taught is CP4, CP5? And people may be inclined to not vote for something they don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think this council certainly indicating CP5 would be on the ballot, which is a more palatable chunk of change for the taxpayer, I would think. But we'll see what these options are.
Counselor Haldane and then back to Beddoes and McMath.
Okay, my last question. Anyhow, so we've spent 834,000 so far to get to what we've got on here now. To spend another 50,000 to at least find out what we're probably going to use down the road would be my guess anyway, even if it's a new council or whatever. So I could see 50,000 being spent very reasonably here because I don't think it'll go to waste in the long term because that road system's going to be asked about. We had over 4,000 people now sign a petition, and that petition was about getting traffic moving in Sooke. It may even include bridges and all this other stuff. But the point is, there's a pretty good chance if we come up with something, you might get at least 4,000 people out to vote for a change. So they're on a petition now, and maybe there'll be more interest in an actual, a plebiscite because they have a reason to come out and vote. Maybe they don't all care about councils so much, but they do care about getting home from work and traffic and stuff. So I think it's a great motion, a great push forward. I support spending the 50,000 to find out, and I'm the taxpayer saving guy, and I believe it's good intended money. So,
Counselor Beddoes, McMath, and myself, and then I'm going to call the question after that.
Thank you, Your Worship. I thank you for Councillor Haldane. I think it's 50,000. We did spend 800,000 to get to this point, and I think those are those in the public that will care and we'll look at this CP5, would want a dollar value attached to it. So I think I got the message loud and clear when the Charters was closed down. Get on with it. Get something moving. And this to me, and like I say, I'd like to do the full build out, but it's just not realistic. So we need to get moving, and I think this will get us to where we want to go. And it would certainly, once it's out in the public and what the cost would be, it will give this council and the next council a little bit more to deal with. So again, thanks for the discussion, and I'd like to get on with it and get this done.
Councillor McMath?
We'll just get on with it.
Okay, I'll just add, I am in support of this. At least it completes the work. If the timing does not work, that council cannot advance to, we missed the deadline to put in a binding question, then we still have the flexibility to go to a plebiscite and to ask what the community feels about it, because there's differing views on this. This isn't a priority for everyone. Many people do not want to see a natural area blown up and turned into a road, because that's what it is. You will be displacing and impacting a significant portion, a significant ecosystem. And that needs to be considered. Not everyone is supporting this. There is some that would prefer to see funds used in other ways or not at all. So, and not to focus so much on traffic and other investments, but this provides option. Just further to the province did provide fully funded grants in the past. So in terms of Church Road and its upgrades and Otter Point and its upgrades, those were all fully funded. There was a time where the province was in a different place and was sending out funds to communities to advance infrastructure. And because Sooke had detailed design work, or at least the design work done, we were eligible for all of those grants, and we received it, and we were able to do the work quickly. And so in this case, having this work done, whenever things change, and it may not be the province, it could be through the federal government infrastructure funding, it would allow the opportunity to apply because we have the work done, because the turnaround is fast. So I'll just highlight that while I certainly like to hold the province accountable. They have funded these projects. We were eligible, we did use them, and we were able to make improvements for a safer streetscape here in town. So I'll close on that note. I am in support of this to get the information. We'll make a further decision point on what that's going to look like when it comes back to us. Councillor Bateman, very quickly, then I'm calling the question.
These are a separated multi-use trail and a separated sidewalk. It's not a Grant Road West scenario. Is that clear?
And well, I think it's the case of looking, the wording on this is a bit, we want options. So I think it's the case, because obviously on a 25-meter cross section, you can fit everything on that. 20-meter somewhat, 15.2, not sure what that's fitting. So I think it's the case where we want as many options as possible, and what can you include here? It may be the case where you can be 25 cross meters, but here's 1 and 1, here's 2 and 2, and here's the ultimate, and here's the narrow, here's a rough cut. I think we need options to know, and the community is going to expect that. You put in, we supported a 20-meter road right away, and you only put the sidewalk on one side and you have road on the other. So what are you doing to our staff?
Your worship, the cost estimate could be do a 25-meter wide right away with just 2 lanes, bike path, multi-lane path, whatever, just to secure that land, and then do the same for the 20. So I don't see that as an issue.
Okay. All right, I will call the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Were there any other motions that council would like to make on this particular item at this time? No? Nothing? Anyone? You thought about it, but you don't want to do it. Okay. So there will be an opportunity when this comes forward, and we can discuss it then. The current time is 7:50. I recommend that council take a 10-minute recess So we will reconvene at approximately 8:01 to those viewing online. Thank you. That's 10 minutes. Okay, good evening, everyone. If I can have your attention back, please. Everyone could please take a seat, have your attention back in the room, please. Okay, council, we are on 8.2, location for a memorial structure. I will turn this over to staff, please.
Your worship, we're looking for direction or acceptance of placing the memorial structure within Ed McGregor Park. We feel it's probably the best option out of the two and are looking for direction from council.
Okay, so the motion that's on the floor then is that council directs staff to erect a memorial structure in Ed McGregor Park as shown in attachment 1. Councillor Beddoes has moved that. Councillor McMath has seconded. Go ahead and speak to it, Councillor Beddoes.
Yeah, well, I've been on council 8 years and we've been talking about this for more than 8 years, actually. So I'm glad that we picked the spot. I don't want to get into the weeds about which one would be better. I think staff has made that suggestion and that's where it will go as far as I'm concerned. So that's it for me.
Councillor McMath?
Same.
Others? Councillor Bateman?
Well, I prefer John Phillips Memorial Park. It is more suitable site, green and leafy, and it's not next to a highway, and it is not in immediate proximity of a potential full-service shopping mall. So for me, John Phillips Memorial Park, with the very accessible new parking lot we have here, would be a better choice. But I agree completely with Councillor Beddoes. We need to make a decision tonight, and so, yeah, all is good.
Anyone else have comments on this? I would agree with Councillor Beddoes. This goes back to Mayor Milne's time in this office where we were looking at a memorial wall. It then changed over time and then we looked at whiff and spit. I'm just sharing this for the benefit of those in the room. We've now learned we don't actually own whiff and spit. We have a license to occupy and there's significant challenges. If you go to this area of Ed McGregor Park, and I'm very familiar with it because our former councillor La Jeunesse and I were there and thought it would be a good spot. And that's where we recognize there's also a feature to honor former Ed McGregor within that park. And then this wall has a number of others in there. There's many different memorial benches, memorial trees, and some of those that have contributed to this park. So it is starting to break down. So it's a good way to repair and rejuvenate that section and to get on with it. It is in proximity to the harbor as well. And it is when you're in that area, it is quiet. So I know that the highway is busy, but it is quiet. So I'm in support of this as well. Anyone else? I'll call the question then. All in favor? And we're unanimous. Okay, I'm assuming that was to vote and not to speak. So we're moving on. Okay, the next up is 8.3 UBCM Annual Convention. Okay, over to staff, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So in your correspondence package, you'll have read the information from UBCM about the potential ministerial meetings. And also you're aware, of course, that at the convention, various resolutions can be brought forward. And one of those was sent in by a member of council. And so those two things together are the reason for this report. We will also bring this report to the next, I think, 2 council meetings in order to make sure that council have the chance to consider any resolutions they would like to make and any meetings they would like to request. So you can either endorse resolutions at this point or discuss amongst yourselves if you would like any, or request, say, that future ones be brought forward. And similarly, if you would like to instruct staff to seek meetings with ministries at this point, then you can do that, or you can simply start the discussion about which ones you would like.
Okay, we'll start with the first one, and that's where that council endorsed the following resolution. We'll do them one at a time. That council endorsed the following resolution for submission to the 2026 UBCM, and this one is called Food Waste Reduction and Retail Affordability Framework. Whereas clauses, food waste contributes to landfill emissions and economic inefficiency. Many edible food products are discarded before consumption. Food affordability challenges continue to affect British Columbians. Voluntary retail markdown systems remain inconsistent. Therefore, be it resolved that the government of British Columbia develop legislation requiring large grocery retailers to implement progressive mandatory price reductions for perishable food products approaching best before or expiry dates, alongside complementary food waste reduction and food recovery measures. Would someone like to move that resolution to go to UBCM? Councillor Beddoes has moved it, seconded by Councillor Bateman. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Beddoes?
No, it's pretty straightforward. I think with the high cost of food, I know they throw a lot of stuff out, and it's still usable. And I know the food banks get some of it, but I think there's a tremendous waste, and I think it could be offered at a reduced price to the public would only help people's budget.
Councillor Bateman.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. This is Councillor St. Pierre's motion, absolutely. And he's got direct experience with I won't speak for him, but I'll just note that in 2023 and 2022, food waste reduction and food security resolutions were brought forward by the City of Vancouver. So under the new protocols at UBCM, if it aligns with existing policy, they won't accept emotions like that. But this does seem unique and absolutely in support.
Councillor McMath?
I just have one question, and it is regarding food banks. Is this going to interfere with that? So then will all of these retailers transition to selling discounted food that normally they would donate to those food banks? So that's why I won't be supporting it this time.
Councillor Beddoes has a reply to that.
Yeah, I don't mind whether the people that need the food get it through the food bank or go get it themselves. The thing is, the food's made available to the people. I just as soon see them go to the store and buy it themselves. And I think the food bank is going to a little different system. So yeah, I still would back my motion.
Anyone else? I'll speak in support of this, particularly the mandatory price reductions for perishable food. It's very difficult to pay full price for something that is expiring that day or is not, I don't know, like when you see some fruit and produce that arguably is full price still, when you could get home and basically throw most of it out. I don't know. It varies. We'll see. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? None opposed. That's unanimous. I'm sorry, Councillor, sorry, I didn't call the opposed. Councillor McMath is opposed. I'll go to the second one. Okay, this one's a bit longer. Whereas manufactured home communities provide.
Your Worship, I apologize. The attachment to endorsed resolution is the resolution which came to council at the last meeting through the LUDC committee. So that one has already been endorsed by council to be sent to UBCM, and it was attached for information about the resolution which has already been endorsed and will be going forward on behalf of Sooke. I apologize for not making that clearer.
You don't need a motion for this.
Not on that one, no.
It's just here for information, so
Yes,
we'll
Your
leave
Worship.
that. Okay, the second part would be, and that council instructs, this one is a difficult one. So in terms of this one, to open up the dialogue around seeking meetings with ministries, I'm just going to ask that council receive this for information, this report for information, and then we can determine if there's an ask for a ministry meeting, because I can't fill in the blank because I'm not a mind reader. So how about the motion for information? Councillor Bateman, seconded by Haldane. Go ahead, Councillor Bateman, and then we can amend it.
Well, yeah, so I'll jump in with everyone's favorite, the Ministry of Transportation.
Yay.
The minister, very importantly, because the early deadline is for meetings with ministers, and later on we can line up meetings with staff, right? So the Minister of Transportation and Transit, and I don't have to Yeah, it's been all said tonight. We need to update them on the work we're doing and get some clarity about what is promised to Sooke in their 10-year capital plan. As a former deputy minister told me once, find out what their capital plan spending intentions are. So they promise future corridor improvements. And we're seeing, you know, the Idlemore intersection, and I could go on. I'll stop.
Okay, thank you. I think Minister of Transportation will be one. So what we'll do is we'll do a follow-up because we're on receive for information. Councillor Haldane.
I'm fine. I don't have any particular ministries at this point, so.
Okay, others?
No.
Okay, I will put forward for myself the Solicitor General. The Solicitor General, just to discuss the impact of police costs and our cost pressures and what we have done as a community to advance to 24/7, our school liaison officer, the cost impact, the cost of 911 service, the advocacy around the Vancouver Island Major Crime Unit. The one answered one is with the transition of Surrey going to their own force. Surrey used to pay in and cover off a big share of overhead that we all benefit from, being also RCMP. So if they are no longer involved with RCMP, then what then happens to those costs that remain? Does it get reallocated to participating communities? Does it change? Does the province pick up that gap? I don't know. Nobody knows. So it's an ask and a point just to raise that with the Solicitor General. And the other one would be around the Minister of Health. By then, hopefully, for any of these, we won't have much, I don't think, from the Solicitor General, but at least with the Minister of Transportation and Transit, we can share our update and our work on what is actually happening and going on to a ballot. And the other one would be Minister of Health, where we're at with our BC Builds Health Center that should be breaking ground, hopefully, on the Wadhams property. So those are sort of the three that I would recommend. Is there others that anyone has that comes to mind? We will receive other ones that may come, and if I will be missing the next regular one, but there's other agencies that come up. One of them that I have an ask out for is ICBC. We continually hear of young people really needing to get their driver's license testing and are unable to secure a test in Saanich, sometimes not even Nanaimo. And for a young person that needs that license to drive this summer, that is a big impact if they don't get a driver's license test. So what is happening with ICBC to expand the available options? Because yes, it's Saanich, but it's full. So then what if you don't pass? You're up to Nanaimo, and then what? You're on the mainland to take your driving test? I don't know how that works for families, but this is sort of off, but it is one that it will come up is ICBC. So maybe we can just add this so that it's in there if it's willing, and we can just think, you have time at least to think about others, whether it's BC Assessment, BC Hydro, Fortis, and so forth, and other entities. But I wanted to raise the ICBC one. It's what I'm hearing from young people. Councillor Bateman?
Yeah, I'm wondering about the Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs, if indeed we want to again raise the need for sewer expansion out to Kaltassin.
We're not there with a project right now.
Okay.
So if we were actually advancing that work, then that would make sense, but that is currently pending on hold. So we don't have that project to raise at this time.
And yet, did we not, with the Sooke, advance to the point where we were seeking grant funding for that project?
We did, and we were rejected.
We were rejected. So why don't we say, hey?
Because
What
Sooke
about
has
that?
also had a change, and we are not, and then at that time, I don't want to make a decision on them without them, for them without them. And so I think that can come up at a future time. Okay, so the add-on, because we receive for information, so I will ask then for an amendment, and that would be, and that council instructs staff to seek meetings with the following ministries: Ministry of Transportation and Transit, Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General, Minister of Health, ICBC. Is there a mover for that? Moved by Councillor McMath, seconded by Councillor Pearson. I'll ask this, do council members know if they're intending to attend, will you be attending UBCM this year?
Yes.
I'm going. Depending on work. Because registration at one point we'll be asking, so staff is waiting for the registration date. Hotels were already booked, and if you're not going, our staff will have the ability to transfer a reservation to another community. So the sooner we know that you're not going, gives them more time to pass the room off to somebody else.
I will acknowledge I am not running for office again. So as a result, I'm not sure that my time on the district's dime is well spent at UBCM. So I think my tendency is not to be going.
So you are still a counselor and you have advocacy work to do. So then it'll be, I think you have some time. You don't have to make that decision tonight to think about it, but you signed up for the term. So your work ends when the election happens, and this advocacy is happening in September. So that is up to you to decide. I'm not running either, but I plan to attend. But I will share that my registration is covered because I'm a life member. So there is already a cost saving to the district for those that are concerned. Councillor Beddoes.
Yeah, as I stated, I'll be going, and I would hope the other councils will be going too, because this is our one opportunity to talk one-on-one with the province. And you heard what we're discussing today with the MOTT, and it'd be nice to look them in the eyes. And you know, I'm for one want to bring that letter that we had from our MLA, that rather, spicy. Yeah, that's a good term, spicy. And just let them know that you know, we're willing to work with all the ministries, but when you get treated like that, it's sort of like what's happening south of the border. You know, you don't need to talk like that. You know, we're trying to get things for our residents, and the province is a big part of that. So I would hope that we would all go, but that's just my preference.
Okay, and Councillor Pearson and Haldane, you don't know yet? Councillor Haldane is going to attend, and Councillor Pearson is fairly certain that he's going. Okay. So and Councillor McMath, let us know when you know, as soon as you can. Okay, so on this, I'll call the question that these are the meetings that we will start preparing briefing documents. We have to make a submission that these are the meetings we want and the reason. So our staff need to put some details together within a report, and then we wait to see, and we'll find out what meetings we're successful in getting. We can ask, but we don't necessarily receive all of them. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's, any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, bylaw section number 9.1, sewer use bylaw amendments. Don't we want a report? We do. Anything further from, thank you for moving us along. Anything further to the staff report, please?
Not at this time, your worship, but we're here for questions.
Okay, Councillor McMath is moved that council give 3 readings to sewer use amendment bylaw number 945. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Haldane. Councillor McMath, any comments? In the microphone.
I have questions. That's it. I am a bit of a Luddite in the sewer world. How do you catch someone? Like, I understand, like, if someone deposits a large amount, there's sometimes flags in the system. You would get an alert, and you can generally see where the source is coming from.
Your worship, through the counselor, really the first indication we have is when it hits the plant at the headworks. So if there's a lot of inorganics and it happens on the weekend, the screens clog up, we have to call someone in. A lot of this waste is anaerobic, whereas our system is aerobic. So aerobics with oxygen, anaerobics without oxygen. And when the anaerobic hits the oxygen, it kills off our bacteria and basically upsets the plant, in which case we might violate our operating permit. And depending, again, how Ministry of Environment is feeling that day and if they want to make an example or not, we'll see what comes of that. So what this bylaw does, it does give us the ability, if we can catch someone in the act, so pumping at one of our lift stations or just popping a manhole, and we can catch them in the act, we have a mechanism now in which to find them, basically polluter pays philosophy, and we would then try to recover our personnel costs, chemicals, whatever they do to the plant.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
And what happens, for instance, you own a large piece of property and there's some sort of access to drainage there and someone deposits there, like, are you able to trace it back to the property?
It really depends on what they deposit.
Okay.
Again, one of the bylaws I think I will be bringing to the new council is a protection of waterways. I've had success in the past where I've got polluters to pay, and it's fairly substantial because doing a cleanup is fairly significant. So we need to put ourselves in a position where we can prosecute when someone upsets our system.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Haldane?
Yeah, just one thing. We run into it sometimes through the community association, and we have a sandy dump down at the campground, but we have vehicles that come and go, and we allow somebody to pay a small fee and then they can dump their stuff. But we've had trucks come in the past, and we identify it because it clogs up our entire system with grease or whatever that goes in there. So then we're stuck covering costs. So my thing, I guess, would be in this bylaw, don't charge the community association. We're not always the culprit, but we may have to deal with a bunch of this stuff from time to time. So my hope would be that, of course, you want to be able to catch the people to do it. And we do have camera systems and different things. So there might be a thing to work together. I just don't want to see it as being wherever the property is that does it, they automatically are the ones who are culpable or stuck with the litigation problem. But there definitely needs to be something to try to mitigate what's going on. And I've talked to Paul before about what's happening, good bugs and bad bugs and stuff, but I do understand that. But I just thought I'd bring that to your attention so that you understand, even because we don't have sandy dumps anywhere else in Sooke either, because lots of people do have their trailers and stuff, or they have to drive all the way out past French Beach to be able to do it there. So we're providing a huge service, but at the same time, we're not always the culprit in case something goes sideways or whatnot. So anyhow, that was just, I thought I'd bring up just in case, because I see it all written into the bylaw here.
But I think the problem that we're trying to solve is the case where there has been, these are commercial uses that have gone around and emptied septic fields and then are pouring right into our sewer line. And there has been complaints from residents about the noise as well as the smell on the street and the residue of what's been left behind. And that hauler potentially is charging that customer the complete disposal at Heartland, the mileage to go and dispose there. And now everyone in the sewer system is now paying for that. And for those that are in the wastewater sewer system, it's a bit annoying. You're paying already for the operations of your plant, and here's somebody dumping everything. It's the same as a business that has a garbage or recycling, and then everyone is using it to dump all their garbage in. It's specific to that business, and our sewer system is the same. So this then enables us to begin the process of fining, because it is costing all of us in the system an unfair amount of money, and that money is not going to restore in the system. It's because somebody is disposing in the night or in the middle of the day in some cases, and doesn't seem to care about it. So it's a cost recovery. Polluter pays. I like it. I'm in favor. I'm gonna call the Councillor Bateman.
Yeah, well, I'll just say it's a good, strong strong fines here, $3,000 for disposal, and then a fine could go up to 50,000. I had some questions around that, but I don't think, yeah, you know, how does one qualify for a $50,000 fine? Is it just on volume or on?
The volume, and they keep doing it.
And yeah. Okay.
And then just repetitive times. 3,000 might be dismissed as the cost of business.
Right.
Well, I'll do ELF, that's fine. But when it starts to escalate from the same entity, it's basically a theft of service. So there's a
Right.
consequence, and this now gives the teeth council or corporate services.
Thank you, Worship. And I just wanted to add to that correct assessment that the penalties clause includes the maximum fine that we are authorized to issue as a local government is $3,000, but a competent court of law can impose a higher fine. So if we go as far as civil litigation on a matter, then that would be the maximum fine that can be imposed as a result.
Okay, call a question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. The next up is 9.2, noise control bylaw exemption. Okay, so it is that council's read the report. The motion is that council vary the provisions of bylaw number 485, noise control bylaw 2011, section 3.2E and section 3.2F to permit overnight construction work associated with Highway 14 civil works at 6569 Sooke Road between 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. Monday through Friday during the period of June 29th to August 29th with no work permitted on Saturdays or Sundays. Or can we add statutory holidays? Is that, or no, do we not, people like to work on Canada Day? Okay, I'm just fine. All right. Okay, there's a mover who, Councillor McMath is moving it. Someone else second it. Councillor Pearson, any comments, Councillor McMath? Councillor Pearson? Anyone from anyone else? Councillor Bateman?
Well, yeah, I always think in moments like this, we should highlight the work that's being done. So this is from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. Monday to Friday, June 29th to August 29th. New asphalt pavement, construction of sidewalk, installation of a bus pullout, street lighting improvements, and lane configuration adjustments. So that's significant work. And for those of us traveling after 7 p.m., yeah, just for context.
And this is all related to the Bayshore development at 6569 for egress in and out of their site. So I guess you can do it during the day and disrupt all the commuting traffic, or do it at night and disrupt the residents. There's no easy win on this one. Good luck. All right, call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Next up is 9.3, 9.3. Repeal of section 3.7 density bonus provision, zoning bylaw number 944-600-118, 2026. Over to staff.
Yeah, your worship, members of council, this is a recommendation to provide first, second, and third reading to amend the zoning bylaw to bylaw. This is a requirement through the Bill 16 Housing Amendment Act that requires this to be done. The only way we can keep the density bonusing section within the zoning bylaw is if we do a fairly exhaustive and not financial analysis of the amenities that we want to have people charged for, and how that relates to the increased density being proposed on the property. So there's also a fair bit of public input required as part of this process as well. So as the deadline is the end of June, we won't have time to do that. Also, just to make you aware that many of the changes to our zoning bylaw since this original density bonusing section was put in place, and our new official community plan provides the additional density that these density bonusing allows for. So we're not really losing anything by having this removed. We will take another look at the density bonusing section as part of our zoning bylaw review in the coming years. So At this point in time, it's a requirement to have this removed by the end of June. So that's what staff's recommending.
And this is the province making this requirement. So again, in our work. Okay. Anyway, the motion is then that council give first, second, and third readings to zoning amendment bylaw number 944, 600-118, 2026 to repeal sections 3.7 density bonus provisions of bylaw number 600 Sooke zoning bylaw 2013. Moved by Councillor Haldane and seconded by Pearson. Any comments, Councillor Haldane? Nope. Councillor Pearson. Anyone else? Okay, call a question. All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Number 10 is new business, of which there is none. Number 11, are there any notices of motion that anyone would like to read into the record tonight? No? Okay. So number 12, motions for which notice has been given. So Councillor Haldane read this in at the last. So that is that council instructs staff to negotiate with Catalyst Development Group with the aim of including the Sooke Gathering Place in the building to be constructed at 6651 Wadhams Way, and that the plebiscite regarding borrowing $5 million to construct and operationalize the Sooke Gathering Place be cancelled. So that is Councillor Haldane's motion. Is there a seconder? Seconded for discussion by Councillor McMath. Councillor Haldane, you have the floor, and at this time you can choose to
Can I make my own friend?
speak in favor. Yes, you can make an amendment, you can withdraw it. The floor is yours. You have all options.
So I'll remain everything exactly as it says, except for, and that the plebiscite regarding borrowing bylaw 5 million to construct operational at a Sooke Gathering Place be continued. And I say that because.
Be okay, hold it. In order to speak, you need a
Okay, you're right.
seconder.
I get to do the other thing later.
So be continued or remain.
Remain.
Okay, is there a seconder? Councillor McMath is seconding it. Okay, now on the amendment, you are switching the amendment to cancel to remain. So you would be speaking about that part of the amendment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, I mean, I put it out there over the weekend and stuff, and I've been hung out to dry a few times, and this is one of those times for sure. But more importantly, it keeps the democratic portion of our community going. I mean, 5 million is a lot of money, and I do believe that. It was never my intention really to stop the vote or whatever, but I wanted to get a motion out there to deal with maybe doing something with Catalyst or in conjunction anyway. And I kind of got ahead of myself, but no problem. It's not a huge change here, and it keeps in place something you guys had done. I was away the day you did the vote the last time, and I would have realized how important it is to some of the seniors in the community to at least be heard. So I'm happy to leave that in place.
Okay, on the amendment, the Councillor McMath.
I'll support the amendment. It was the only thing truly to cause me hesitance in moving with your original motion.
Okay, Councillor Pearson. In the microphone.
I'm just going to clarify through the chair to our corporate officer, we've already approved the plebiscite.
Yes.
So would we not just simply remove this clause at the request of the?
We have a report to come back to us. So this is on, so basically now, if this passed, then staff would abandon that work.
Right.
But now this is here. So in some cases, it is kind of, it doesn't really need to be here.
It's gone now.
I know, but I think maybe for the counselor wants to just have it remain. And so nothing changes in terms of the work for staff. It's not really needed because the report's coming, but he is looking to change his motion. So
Is it one motion or two?
it's one big motion that we've just amended.
So if it was two, he could withdraw.
He
the
could
second,
withdraw.
but because it's one.
Okay, so we're on the amendment. Okay, Councillor Beddoes, because there is the option to sever and then to dispose of the second part.
Yeah, I would certainly like to sever, and I'm really not happy with the first part of that motion. Unfortunately, Mr. Councillor Haldane wasn't with us at the time, but we talked at great length about catalyst development and putting the gathering place in there. And it was basically dismissed because that would be commercial space.
Okay, we're on the amendment though, so that's what we're discussing right now. So what are your thoughts on the amendment about remaining? Do you want the plebiscite canceled or to remain?
No, I want we've already dealt with the plebiscite, so I don't even think it should be here. That's why I'd like to
I
settle
know,
it.
but on the floor right now is an amendment to change the language. So that is what is on the floor and that's what we're
Then I
discussing.
vote against it because this should be reworked right from start.
The only thing that's on the floor is the language around to canceled has been replaced to remain. So that is the amendment that we are discussing right now. And then other things can happen depending after that. I can go to you to sever the two, but we're dealing with the amendment. Okay?
Yeah.
So on the amendment.
On the amendment. I'll just note that the plebiscite that I put forward is borrowing up to 5 million. And I think that's a critical point, up to. There's a maximum number, but there's no minimum. And that is up to, yeah, so I think if we.
So your
I
emotion
would like
now.
to see, make an amendment on the amendment, borrowing up to 5
Okay,
million.
so we're gonna add an amendment to the amendment. Yes,
We've already debated that.
yes, all of that is already discussed.
Sever it and get rid of the side.
Okay, so I'm
Okay.
going to ask whoever is not speaking to turn off your microphones. And on this one, I think I'm going to ask the mover. The amendment would be to eliminate this entire paragraph.
Sure.
Okay. So we're just going to take all that off as an amendment to the amendment is just to remove the whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to call the question on that. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. And do you need another amendment now, or now that that's done, it's null and void? That's good for staff?
I think council's will is quite clear on that.
Yes, so, okay, so we will remove that and go back. Now we don't need to sever and we're dealing with just this part. Councillor Haldane, you still have the floor.
Yeah, there's gets to decide what happens to it. And that's why I say, the senior center could be in that building. There may have been some talks earlier on, and there may have been some talks about how you'd get a senior center. But at this point, we've come down to, we don't know. I'm not asking how we're going to pay for it. I'm just asking that it be discussed of the possibility of having a senior center put in there. Because this building's going to be getting built most likely in the next few years. And there's a better chance the senior center may actually come to fruition if they actually have a place on paper to go to. If we go to a plebiscite, that was my whole thing to begin with, was that could take years, 5 years, 10 years, who knows how long. I mean, we've been talking about a senior center from back when I was on council in 2014. So obviously this is a time sensitive issue. And I understand that if we could work it out with this 5,000 feet, that we're all in charge of what's going to happen in it. I know they'd like to see some sort of medical assist, or x-ray or something, but it was also talk that if we didn't come up with some people to move into the commercial part of it, they were going to turn it into residential. And that was what they were asking. So I would say we keep it for use for our own local people or local groups here, and we come up with a solution for that 5,000 feet. That's my intention of this whole thing to begin with. So negotiate with Catalyst, just as it says here. Anyhow, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McMath, you have the floor next.
I'm gonna wait for now. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Beddoes, then Pearson, then Bateman.
Yeah, I hear all the good intentions by Councillor Haldane, but my read of the seniors that were here tonight and other nights, they're not really ecstatic about going into that catalyst development. And I understand that they might get it sooner, but I think the desire for the seniors is to have a standalone on Wadham's Way, and that's what the plebiscite will dictate in a few months down the road, and then we can go to a boring bylaw in the future. But again, we looked at the catalyst development, and it would be very cost prohibitive I understand we're just gonna, waste some, not waste, sorry, bad choice of words, get some staff time to have a look at it. And, but I don't think it's an option. I'm gonna be voting against it.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Pearson.
Yes, thank you. And I hear everything that everybody's saying. I just think that this is another option that couldn't be on the table to get seniors into a place. I promised my mother-in-law in 2010 that I would work hard to get a senior center in Sooke, and here it is 2026. We still don't have a senior center. This is an option. We do have 5,000 square feet. Maybe it doesn't work out, but I think we ought to explore it because it is our space. And the seniors, bless their hearts, for every cupcake and cookie that they've sold to me and calendars and everything else that they do, trying to come up with a way. They've got 300,000, which is remarkable from our seniors in our community. This may be an option that is sitting right in front of us. It may not be, but I think we ought to explore it for the sake of the seniors in our community.
Okay, Counselor Bateman.
Yeah, so, yeah, I agree with the whole point and the language of the motion I made states very clearly, borrow up to 5 million to construct and operationalize the Sooke gathering place on Lot A in the town center. So within Lot A is the option of the urgent and primary care center, catalyst development, and also the whole idea of this 5 million, is it scalable? And my hope would be that the next council would, if indeed there is a strong yes vote, that there would be a task force created, and terms of reference, a key group of people led by Searchin gather together and figure out their options and report back to the new council. And as I said the other night, you could go basic, as we're going to consider with the road referendum, or with social infrastructure, which is just as important as road infrastructure. We could do something a little special. And that could be a multi-use with the Gathering Place Foundation, with art space, the Art Cooperative Gallery, arts maker spaces, Black Box Theater, possible home of the Foundry, Sooke. So it'd be a pretty interesting process. And again, I think it would be done in a very cost-effective manner, given the affordability crunch. And so when we see 5 million, let's always remember that's a maximum up to. But that's all for discussion as the plebiscite approaches.
Okay, thank you. Some comments that I have. So I appreciate, the desire to get on and get this done. I'm glad that the plebiscite is going to happen because it's needed and necessary. But I will share that as this process has unfolded, and I know it's taken a lot of time, we have already indicated to staff, is it possible? And that's why in our agreements, when we were dealing with the lease language, the use of it, is it possible to potentially include this in there? So our staff are kind of already doing this. So now we're telling them and passing a motion to direct them to do work that they're already doing. So, and in part, we're not necessarily the lead on this because it is an initiative through the province. So in that case, we are following their timeline as well. And then meanwhile, we had, when this came about, if you go back, Searchin was already dedicated a different portion of Lot A. So we were working together, but independently. So Searchin is advancing the Elders Complex and Gathering Place with housing above, and all of that was the vision on one quadrant. Our staff were working with the ministry, with BC Builds, to advance the health center on the adjacent parcel, and that the additional square footage be available for other health-related services that would not be covered by the urgent care center. And then it's the case where, unfortunately, with BC Housing and everything, every application collapsed, and that completely collapsed the project. And so now they are back somewhat at square one again. And that's what led to the discussion of, will we make a decision, as they have made a delegation many times, will you please make a decision on whether or not we can go on Lot A, so that we know what we're focusing on. And we have said, yes, we want to have you on Lot A. And now it's the case of advancing potential funding. So I'm grateful for the work that you did to get the plebiscite on. Now, the concern I have is, okay, We're now doing two things, and that means Search has to fund two different projects. So let's say Catalyst says, okay, we come to an agreement on what an equitable rate will be, then the fit out has to happen. So Search will fundraise for that. There's no guarantee though, when that lease expires, that they will be renewed in that space. There could be options, but this is up to the council's will of the day. Council is in control of the site. So what if, for example, the urgent care, because the issue that we had around advocacy for those that are following the health bouncing ball is that what the province is committed to is not enough for our community and our growing needs. It's the same as our schools. They're building on data today, not on what the forecast will be, which is why when the schools opened, they automatically need to bring in portables because they're undersized. This is a growing community. We all need to attach to more health. So when this urgent care advances, it may be undersized and too small, and they need to expand. So then what? That displaces the seniors, or it displaces healthcare. That is another decision. Then you've got to pull another building out of the ground. And I'll leave you the archive so you can find out how much work goes into trying to get that building out of the ground, but it will be undersized. We know that our X-ray facility is antiquated and not functioning. So what if there's an actual movement to actually have an upgraded X-ray facility, modern, come in? Would it not be ideal to have it located next to the health center? What about life labs? They are undersized. You ever try pushing anyone in a wheelchair into the life lab successfully? Not easy, depending on the size of the person. It was a nightmare with my father-in-law. So in that case, and it's busy, but they were another, like there are a number of allied services that potentially, and the whole idea was to co-locate them together. So in this case, we'll tell Search, okay, you need to fundraise for this one and for your permanent build out somewhere on LIDA. You need to be working on both, but maybe the plebiscite will take care of that. So we'll do the fit out for one and basically be, okay, that'll be short term while we're pulling another. So now we're going to throw away that fit out and restart on another one. It's a difficult one. I think it's the case, this work, it's kind of a redundant motion. I appreciate Councillor Haldane, you brought this forward. You've only been here a year, so there's a lot of work that has happened offline. The other concern I have is what if the province, as you read, says, we are not going to fund this project? That is still a concern of mine. Then it's a no-go and they are still back to square one, but at least the plebiscite is happening. So in some cases, I'm a bit torn on this because we're instructing staff to do work that they're already doing. It now takes the capacity constraints in two ways, and Search now has to focus on two different projects and not still on one. So I don't know. I am a bit torn on this one here, but that are just some concerns that I raise on this. Mr. Marshall.
Just so you know, I have had the discussion with the representative from Catalyst about this space being used. And they're a nonprofit developer. They need to have the rent from this commercial space in order to be able to sustain this development. And in their mind, it doesn't matter whether it's offices and commercial space or whether it's the senior center. So they're quite happy to include the senior center, but it's with the understanding that it has to be at a market rate. It's not a subsidized rate. It's not a lesser rate. Because the finances don't work if they don't get the full market rate. So
I think what needs to come out of this is, and we've heard that as well, is I think an amendment to this would, what I'm trying to get, and I'm going to ask staff's assistance on this, on what sort of motion may be needed. We hear that, and I recall that as well. So in the event that this is the approach the district wants to do, what then will the district have to pay? Because Search's ability to pay is only going to be so much. So if we want to do this, then that's fine on a temporary basis. Then what then will the district be required to pay to top up Search and to achieve that rent? That is that really in the end is the question, is what is that rent going to be? And will then the district, so then it'll be up to council can you find that money to do that? So in that case would you require an amendment? And basically it's the case of how to search and then I think we need a report. It's a report back, not just dealing with Catalyst, but also dealing with the Sooke Region Community Health Network to see if this is a viable fit. And if they say no, then that is a reasonable answer for them to give us. And then to come back and say, no, we are unable to afford that, or we really need to focus on a permanent build because their board also has capacity on what they can do. So we are already demanding that they do work in 2 locations, and they may only have the capacity to pursue the one. So I think it's the case of that Kath. And so I'm just going to ask staff, do you need any other language if this passes to report back to also include search-in? Because it's not just Catalyst Group, it is with the Sooke Region Community Health Network. I'm just talking, I can't talk and think about emotions at the same time. I can't multi-think that way. Or is that or do you need an amendment?
Your Worship, Ms. Gray, and I believe that that would probably be implicit in this, and that if the council instruct us to negotiate, then we would be seeking to have conversations with all the relevant parties.
Okay, so you don't require a motion then?
No, and I was maybe going to add, I appreciate council can pass this motion or not, but to the mayor's point, I think in this report that's coming back, we will be talking about the plebiscite option, you know, for the original idea of the front quadrant there. We can add a bit of commentary about this with a bit of high level information we know or can get from Catalyst at this time, because to your point, we've already had a few of these conversations, so we're aware of some of the metrics, some of the market rate for the leases, so we can include some of that information in this report coming to council next month.
And that's work you were doing anyway, so is this motion even necessary?
It's up to council. This is already underway and we were
Yeah.
going to be addressing it, but I mean, we defer to council if you would like a dedicated motion to this. They will be wrapped up in the same report. We just wouldn't do a standalone report just on this.
Yes, it's all, yeah, so this is all work that's underway, so to, it's just, we're just reminding staff of the work that we're doing, but maybe we're reminding ourselves of the work that staff is doing already. So it's kind of redundant, but it's fine. Call the question. Anyone else? Oh, Councillor Helding.
So, yeah, just a couple of quick things. You mentioned that there's land been allocated to searching for this other building or place, but yet during the public question comment period, there's no contract for them to be able to go and look for somebody to build this other building with. So because we're void of that particular component, they really have nowhere to go with anything because they don't have any guarantee that they get to use this other land. And if they do have that guarantee, then they can go seek out private developers and so on to help them with this project. But
there was an agreement, but it was the question that council has been unable to answer, been unable to make a decision on is, do you support a single story build out on that lot? Or are you comfortable? Are you okay with that? Or must it have density? And it's been split all along. And council's like, no, we need to know, we need more, we need more, we need more. And we have never resolved, yes, you can build whatever you like in that northeast quadrant. No one has been able to articulate their viewpoint on that. There has always been a desire, we need density, it's significant, and we need these other things.
so they have a contract in place saying that they can go to a private developer right now?
No, because it was all tied into the larger scaled project that was known as the large, I'm doing this, it's the building, the multi-use, the one with BC Housing, it was all tied in together. So when that collapsed, the whole thing collapsed. And then it was the case where they have asked council to make a decision on, can we proceed with just a single story build on that lot? And that has been back and forth. So that is why we're here.
So the other thing with this then, with my motion, is that even if you're saying that it's temporary space because the medical center may want to expand one day to 11,000 feet or whatever, no matter who's in there, whether it be nurses, x-rays or whatever, they will be forced out to accommodate the doctors someday anyway. So this would be a great opportunity for a senior center to get up, working off the ground. They work out of that building until they come up with somebody who can help them build or use that other piece of land. And again, it happens sooner than later. And 2, 3, 4 more councils could go down the road and this other thing never comes to fruition. And then we're still stuck talking about this years and years from now.
But the plebiscite question will allow them the same thing, where then they can take all of their focus and focus on just that quadrant and do their building and
But if
then
the
apply for all of
plebiscite
that.
says no, if the people say no to borrowing $5 million, they still have the right to take that piece of land. I mean, we gave up $3 million worth of land to give to Catalyst, and we get nothing in return for that other than they're going to build the medical component for us at market rent. So I would think there should be something for the $3 million, and we should get some little kickback of maybe reduced rent or maybe the 20% on the residential component for below market gets squashed. It's all market rent for that, and it's below market for our use of the 5,000 feet. My point is, I think there could be something worked out here.
That deal has already been resolved. And what the community is receiving is an urgent care center, which is desperately needed for anyone in this community that doesn't have a doctor.
Yeah, and that's fine.
That is what the intention of what the community is receiving. And then we already made a agreement, to your point, that this could be turned into housing. No, it cannot. That has already been a decision point by council that cannot be housing, which is why there's a strategy on acquiring the leasehold tenants for that space. So I think in this case, there's still more information to come. And then it's the case where from that, there will be a dialogue on what we can do to that. So again, our staff is already doing this report. It doesn't change their direction on what we have already directed them to do.
So they will get a contract on this chunk of lot A. at some
No,
point?
that is not, that is what they've been asking for. And we have not deliberated and made a decision on that. So maybe that would be another motion that somebody could make at any point in time. Okay, I'm going to move to Councillor Beddoes, then Pearson.
Yeah, I just remind everybody that the plebiscite does say Law A.
Yes.
So if the plebiscite goes through and there's a 90% approval for it, then I would think the council of the day is obligated to put it on that quadrant, because we're going to the people to ask them whether you agree that it should be 10 stories there or 2 stories. That's where, if the people want it there, it's their land, not ours. That's what we do. And I think that this other one, and I understand what Councillor Haldane wants, he wants options. We're getting that anyways. So I don't want to wait. So there's nothing wasted here. Really not put too much more energy in this. I'd like to go ahead with the plebiscite. I would like to see more money, but 5 million, I'll live with that. We've already been down that road, and it's on Lot A, and it's on the quadrant where they want to go. And let the people decide now. We've talked about it long enough. Let's get it to the people. If they're willing to spend $5 million there, and we don't have to worry about them moving in the next 50
So let's
years.
just call the question on the.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah,
fine.
Councillor Pearson would like to speak to.
Well, I think those of you who have been around for a while remember the plebiscite of 2014, whether we build a senior center.
It wasn't that. It was, should we continue building more community spaces?
Exactly.
Yes, that's what it was. It wasn't anything to do with seniors. It was community space.
Out of that flowed the $50,000 per year for the senior center that came out of that plebiscite. That's where that was all born out.
That was before. That was when they showed up in a
2000.
bus.
That's-
That was prior to, we were doing the 550,000 prior to the plebiscite. The 2014 plebiscite was motivated on whether or not to upgrade the community hall.
Wendell Milne was the mayor at the time.
Yes.
And we had a plebiscite, the question coming that
Yes.
that was there. And that question was around space for the seniors in our community.
It was local multi-use community center
Exactly.
facilities serving
Youth.
seniors and youth.
Seniors and youth.
Yeah.
So we're asking the same question. What I like about this motion is it may not come to fruition, but it will give an option in the short term that perhaps will satisfy the seniors having a place to go and fundamentally build their organization. If it doesn't play out, well, then we have to go a different way and come up with, which is what we've been doing for how many years now? Anyways, that's all. I hope we can call the question.
Okay, Counselor Bateman, then I'm calling the question.
Well, my only concern with this, yes, we'll be getting it in the staff report. The language in this instructs staff to negotiate with the aim of including. I would like to see it say something on the lines of instruct staff to explore the possibilities of including the Sooke gathering place in the building to be constructed. So that keeps it light and open to possibility. The language now sounds pretty firm. We want to, does that make sense to anyone?
I'm going to ask Ms. Gray to
Yeah.
respond because she's really been doing this work.
Through your worship to Councillor Bateman, I think maybe council's all saying very similar things. And I just want to say one more time, this motion is already in place. This is already happening. This is already, like, the first preference is to get, I guess maybe what would be different is the first preference right now would be to find medical related co-locatees. That was always the original option from council. The direction from early days was, because going back in time, this is supposed to be 20,000 square feet of health space. Now we're down to, 6,500 plus 5,000 of other medical related spaces. So that is the first option, but Catalyst, I know from the meetings I've been at and conversations, is aware that if they can't find tenants, then as has been stated, they will be looking at the gathering place or others as an option. So I guess maybe the only difference now is council, if their direction is gathering place first, medical space is second. I mean, that's not the direction we're currently working from. We're working on medical space first, which we haven't even started trying to advertise for yet. And then if that can't come to fruition, then it would be transferring, to me, the gathering place would then be the next viable option to be discussed.
Okay, it's redundant, but it doesn't change the work that they're doing. So I hear what you're saying, Counselor Bateman, but in this case, the work is already happening. So I appreciate what you're doing, Counselor Haldane, but I'm not in support of this. The work is happening and we'll wait for that report. There could be a follow-up after that. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And it's tie, so it fails. So it's a defeated motion. Yeah, Counselor Bateman, myself, and Counselor Beddoes are opposed, so it fails. It's defeated, but the work is happening anyway. Okay. Didn't matter, but that's okay. Thank you. It's still a win. Good discussion, and I think it informs everyone about what we're doing because there's been a lot happening, and I've been at this for a decade now, and it's been a very long, big file with little pieces because we don't deliver healthcare. We advocate for it. 12.2. Counselor St. Pierre is not here, so I think this should move to the next regular council meeting. But it would be, I think, regardless of whether he's in attendance or not, because at some point it'll need to be dealt with. Okay, we're moving into correspondence. 13.1, Francis Road speed hump from Gordon Ross, from Councillor Bateman. So I'm going to put it on the floor that council received the correspondence for information by Councillor Bateman. Is there a seconder by Councillor McMath? Go ahead, Councillor Bateman.
Okay, so Whiff and Spit resident Gordon Ross, he is writing on behalf of Sooke Bay Estates. I ran into him at Sookerama and he mentioned these issues. And I said, write counsel, as everyone has the right to do, and I would pull it from correspondence. So I have done so. This, of course, is not the first such letter we have received on the subject of traffic calming. I can cite, if my memory holds, Sun River Way, Rhodanite, Maple Avenue South, Grant Road West, Whiff and Spit Road, Kaltassin, and Beaton, and Phillips. Let's include. There are many stretches of road where people are speeding, and in the Transportation Master Plan, Action 7.7, and we heard about the in-progress status report of this action back in November. And it is in progress, and this is to develop a traffic calming policy to address concerns of traffic volumes and speed on local streets and clarify the conditions necessary to implement traffic calming. So I'd just like to ask through you to Ms. Gray, the current status of that in progress on development of that policy. It's on a to-do list, I suspect.
Through your worship to Councillor Bateman, still in progress. Our new Director of Operations, Jeff Miller, this is on his portfolio. But
Okay.
yeah, in priorities, obviously, there's been some other pressing priorities for his time and getting up to speed on. So this is on the radar, but I'm sorry, I don't have a deadline, an estimated date.
And are you keeping a running list of problem areas that the public have identified?
Yeah, we would use the data through the worship to Councillor Bateman. We would use the data through calls for service, for example, other correspondence and things that come in when engineering and operations
Yes.
are trying to narrow down. Parks does the same thing. So it's mostly calls for service, correspondence based would be the items that would be on the staff's radar to be looked at first.
Okay. So definitely the intersection between Bethany Place and Narissa Road. Please add that to your list. Thank you. And that's it.
Okay, Councillor McMath, any comments? Okay, anything from anyone else? Call the question, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous, thank you. 13.2, Reconciliation Corridor Initiative. So that'll be to receive for information. Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor McMath. Go ahead and speak to it, Councillor.
Yeah, so this arises out of the CRD. We received a letter from View Royal Mayor Sid Tobias and Esquimalt Mayor Barb Desjardins in their roles with the Island Corridor Foundation. And they are very much encouraging, they've written to all CRD mayors and councils, we encourage your council, quote, to include the ENN Reconciliation Rail Initiative in the district's strategic priorities for the next term. And they state that they have a fear that momentum over this project, and the project, for those who don't know, is the revival of the ENN route from Langford into Vic West, and this is intended, of course, to deal with traffic concerns. Commuter rail service will undoubtedly reduce congestion. So I do have a motion that I'd like to be brought forward tonight. And I'll read that. Whereas the commuter rail link between Langford and downtown Victoria will reduce traffic congestion for Sooke commuters and encourage both increased BC Transit ridership and enhanced intermunicipal transit service levels, i.e. more buses. Therefore, be it resolved that Council recommend that the next District of Sooke Council include support for the ENN Reconciliation Rail Initiative amongst its strategic priorities for the 2026-2030 term.
Do we have a seconder? This is an amendment that he's making to his existing motion. Okay, for discussion, go ahead, Councillor Bateman. This is an amendment.
Well, this council does have the right to make recommendations to the next council. And the CRD has done this very recommendation to its next board. It goes into the hopper for strategic planning, and that council we have no right to determine what the outcome of their strat plan is, but we can make directions of this kind. And it just strikes me that given our issues on that road, we've heard about it, our local issues, the Langford, everywhere is just jam-packed. So light rail is obviously coming to the Greater Victoria region, and our council needs to acknowledge that, yes, our citizens will be impacted. Either they will have more room on the roads to drive their vehicles into town, or they can take the bus to Langford Station, to West Hill Station, I believe is where the route will begin, and get into town. There's also stops along the way at CFB Esquimalt, the Esquimalt Graving Dock, and right into downtown. So that's my logic.
Councillor McMath.
I just have a couple questions. So we have a strat plan right now. So really we could just put it in our strat plan and that would continue on.
No, our strat plan ends with us.
Oh, okay. And then if you're making a recommendation for the next group, How are you ranking this? Because we have immediate, less, and then eventually we'll get to it. How are you expecting us to push this forward?
Well, yeah, so I think it's really a recommendation to the next council to keep this on their radar. It will certainly be on the radar at the CRD. So the mayor, the next mayor will be our CRD director, and there will be an alternate director who will be able to bring back these ideas and plans to Sooke Council. However, as Mayor Tobias and Mayor Desjardins have recommended, we and other CRD municipalities need to keep this on the front burner as best we can. So it's a recommendation, and I think it sets a precedent for us to make other recommendations to the new group. You know, there's a number of things which are going to potentially die on the vine unless we.
Well, it leads me to another question.
Yes,
Which
okay.
is, we say the strat plan dies, but when, say it is a whole new group, say none of us come back, and it's a whole new group. How does that conversation, and perhaps Ms. Gray can speak to it, the continuation of what was previously prioritized, what we're in the midst of with the rest of it, how is that communicated? So would you not showcase previous strat plans?
Well, yeah, like what I'm saying, I said, oh, it dies with us. It sounds so morbid. Any council that I've been on, like we are introduced to the strategic plan that the previous council was using.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
Yeah.
Could we not put it into our current strat plan? And then that
Yes.
kind of takes care of all of it, because they'll have the opportunity to review, and then they can speak to it whilst they're campaigning if it's a high priority for them.
I'm going to go to our staff.
Sorry, just to clarify, you guys already thought about this, and that's why the plan goes till 2027. The strategic plan goes for the term from 2024 to 2027. So the idea being that year, transition year, these priorities that are in this plan this work carries on until council gives us new direction. And it kind of puts a deadline on, hey, this is our priorities till, in theory, the end of 2027. So if you want to do something different, we need to get strategic planning done. So the term does go till 2027 in that regard to keep the continuity.
Perfect, so it doesn't die.
Not exactly. Nothing new to
So
your
then
point. Yeah, new initiatives wouldn't be added, new priorities wouldn't be added by staff. It would just be focusing on these and then seeking direction from the new council on what they would like to change.
Perfect. So then I would not support this, but I would support putting it into the current strategic plan.
Why don't we amend the second clause to something of this order of, therefore be it resolved that council includes support for the ENN Reconciliation Rail Initiative in its 2024 to 2027 strategic plan.
So that is an amendment to an amendment. So we are making an amendment to add it to our strategic priorities. So let's deal with that on the amendment to the amendment added to the existing strategic plan. That's been moved. Is there a seconder?
I'll
Councilor
second it, but I have a
McManus?
question.
Okay, there's a
Okay,
question on the second amendment.
Where are you ranking this in utmost
It's an
priority?
advocacy item.
Okay,
Advocacy, absolutely.
okay,
Yeah.
then I'm okay with that.
Okay, so on the amendment to the amendment to add it to the current strategic plan, any comments from anyone else? Okay. Councillor Haldane will update everyone. Okay, so on the amendment to the amendment, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Now about the amendment to add this on. Do we have the comment that I'll make for those that are interested? So we have the CRD that has been funding and supporting this work for a considerable length of time. There is now significant interest in advancing at least the Langford into Vic West portion of this, and the mayors involved have been spearheading that along with the nations impacted, particularly Cossapsum and Songhees, Cossapsum in particular. And there is strong support. And for those of you that are wondering, if they actually did a test and it was about 10 minutes to get from Langford all the way to CFB Esquimalt. That is a big deal for anyone that is commuting there, is which many of our residents do. So that is the portion that they're looking to focus on. And this is within the CRD. And yes, both potentially the next mayor, because it's up to council to decide who sits at the CRD, will be briefed on this, as well as the alternate. Now, at the same time, Sooke also holds a seat with the Victoria Regional Transit Commission that has been advancing the work along the Douglas Highway 1 corridor with the rapid bus lane and the right. So that will disappear with me. Sooke will not necessarily be receiving a seat on the Victoria Regional Transit. It names me specifically to the end of my service. It'll be up to the province, and that's where there's been an ask that another West Shore mayor remain on that. So who that will be is yet to be determined. So that's just a point. Right now, the other West Shore mayor is the mayor of Metchosin. It was Colwood, I believe, previously. And then I advocated, I want a seat there too. So, okay, fine. The province gave me a seat in 2016, but it names me specifically, and that will expire with my term. So there could be another West Shore mayor because Langford and View Royal have never been included on the Transit Commission, but I don't know who that will be. So I'm just raising that because I'm trying to tell everybody the information that's in my head before I leave office. But that is the reality of what'll happen. Is don't expect necessarily to be on transit, because that may not happen and it's not your call. It's up to the province. But in terms of this work, there is strong drive to get this portion going for our commuting public that goes into Vic West to CFB into shipyards. It's a big deal. And D&D is already doing a process of trying to get their workers to the base faster. And so there's a lot of moving pieces. It is important that this actually happens, and there seems to be some initiative. If you're following the federal advocacy piece, it's all around dual use infrastructure with defense spending, because they are investing heavily into defense and also want to see infrastructure that impacts adjacent communities expand at the same time, which means this potentially may actually happen with federal funding. So I'm going to leave it at that. That's on the amendment now. So I'm going to call the question on the amendment. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. On the main motion, as it's been amended twice, we'll now call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. That carries unanimously. Thank you. Any items removed from consent agenda this evening? I think it was all correspondence to the next meeting. Council, verbal reports. I would like to share, if you have not tried the new skate park, I encourage you to do so on Sunday. There will be a big grand opening event with all sorts of activities, some exhibitions or show some youth who actually have talent to do this will be on site to demonstrations is the word I'm looking for on Sunday at Sea Park. So encourage you to do that. I will be there not to skateboard at all, but certainly to cut the red, because that would be humorous for everyone, including not me. And Al will be there as the chair. And that's all I have to share at this particular moment in time. Although I do want to pay tribute to the late Councillor Lillian Spock. I wanted to comment that on the start, but this is a very, it's a very sad event that has occurred. Councillor Spock was a close friend and a dear mentor of mine. I was shocked to receive the news. We had just made plans to connect. And I'm grateful that the mayor of Langford called me in person, because it would have floored me to have received this news in any other way. Councillor Spock loved her community, loved serving, loved regional work, and was always very supportive to new councillors and women as well. So she is dearly missed. And I think of her often, as well as her family. And I'm grateful for the time that I have had to connect with her. It's incredibly sad for me, because I also look and I see the late Councillor Brenda Parkinson's tribute murals that I know she probably would not like. But it just seems that these events happen. They are the most challenging part of my term in service, is loss. And we have been impacted in our community in many different ways, and also just the loss, including that of Norm McInnes and others that have contributed much to our community. So it is the part when I am asked what I don't like about this work, it's death. And if you want to hate anything about this work, it's cancer, because that is what is devastating and ripping apart families and communities. So I just want to leave it on that, but I found it very challenging to find those words at the start of the meeting when we then have to pivot into the business of the day, which is why I'm saving it for the end. Other members of council. Okay, call for a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor Haldane, seconded by McMath. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Councillor Haldane beat you to the adjournment. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight.